The Earth is very flat.
What's up, everybody? It's Wednesday, July 14th, 2021. This is Brandon, host of Brandon's Show. Happy to be back with you. First show since Friday, so let's get back into the swing of things here. We got Dan Morris, Gadget Inspector, Cleary, Logan's Run, Yeah7, bro, and Bill G and Page 42 taking the first slot tonight. Congratulations, Paige. Hope you guys are doing all right. Dan Morris says the music makes him grind his teeth. No shit, huh? That's funny. FE self-evidently. What's up, man? All right. So the big news in the, what is it? Space news? I don't know. The big news over the weekend was the Virgin Galactic supposed flight to the edge of space, whatever the hell they want to call it, which I honestly don't see what the big deal is, but that might come up. We might talk about that, and who knows what else. Found some interesting stuff online over the weekend, last few days, and we might take a look at that too, related to Google's internal intelligence agency, which has kind of got some interesting tidbits in it. And we'll see where it goes from there. Anyway, let's get into Discord and see what's going on. What's going on, everybody? We're live. You guys hear me? Hello, hello.
We're always live.
What's up, Brandon? You want me on your show?
Who are you?
You know who I am.
Might like scratch your chin and be like, are you gay? You know, like just, I claim I'm not, I swear I'm not gay, man. I'm just going to the gay bar every night. So I was just making that analogy that these guys claim that they're like,
folks, in case you missed it, that was the wrong channel.
Claiming it's not gay.
That's funny. That's funny.
What's going on, everybody? How's it going? We're live.
What up? All is well, Brandon.
Oh, what's up, Brandon?
What's up, guys? I just did that stupid thing where I accidentally opened the show on Jem's channel. Oops.
Oops. That happens.
Anyway, how's it going, guys? Haven't been on since Friday. What's the news?
Yeah, what's up with that? How about what's going on with that?
Yeah.
You tell us what's going on.
Life and all that shit, you know.
Boy.
What's the big news? The big thing I keep hearing about is Virgin Galactic flight to the edge of space.
Yeah, they went up in the sky and came back down. They saw a flat, curved, and convex Earth.
Yep.
Whoop-de-doo.
And free falling. Oh, wow. They're in 0G because they're free falling.
I'm trying to figure out what the big deal is. I don't understand.
Well,
that guy's been robbing people. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
I think they're trying to claim that, space tourism is going to be a thing, and now it's not just NASA; it's these other, other parties that are obviously they're not connected to NASA at all. So it must not be like a deceit or something that they're faking because these individuals are funding themselves or whatnot, stuff like that.
The guy didn't even get to the carbon line.
Maybe.
He was like, 50 miles, if that? He didn't even get nowhere near 62 miles.
Yo, this guy has been robbing people since the 90s, telling them he's going to bring them to space, taking hundreds of thousands of dollars in deposits, and just never going.
Haven't they done like multiple space endeavors that they just haven't been successful in?
Yeah, people died.
It was 17 years ago that Burt Rutan won the Google X Prize with the Spaceship One, which is the predecessor to the craft they flew yesterday. But basically, it's taken them 17 years to kind of get back to the point of what he did in 2004.
Doesn't it even go further back than that? Aren't these? It's the same kind of setup as like Chuck Yeager and those guys were using way back when, right? Where
the X-15, they dropped the X-15 from a B-52 bombers. That was a rocket-powered plane, and that was 1959.
Yeah, how high did they get? I mean, they got pretty high in that shit. I can't remember. how high. I thought it was in the 200,000s, but I'll have to look it up.
But yeah, it seems like they're definitely kind of moving into like the next phase of the space fakery propaganda in terms of the civilian space travel. And I think for some people, they feel like it's a strong argument, like, oh, well, maybe NASA and SpaceX, whatever. But now if it's civilian travel, anyone can go, even though it's not really the case. But
when they put something on the moon and have it where people are going to the moon nonstop all the time, and that'll be something. This is nothing. They're just going up high and come back down. So what?
Yep, that's it.
Listen to this. NASA pilot Joe Walker reached a record altitude of 354,200 feet in 1963 in the X-15. So I was off. They went much further than this Richard Branson flight went.
Yeah, this is supposed to be some kind of
yeah,
like it's
what's the big deal? I don't get it.
Me neither.
Well, they do the same thing with these like SpaceX launches, or like with Bezos launching his rockets, and they tout it as like this amazing technology, and it's like, well, you were doing that 50 years ago.
Yeah, it's just propaganda, right?
That's what I see it as. That's what I told them from the get-go. Yup, propaganda.
That's the only thing that makes sense to me, is they just want to keep shit in the news. Most people don't remember the X-15 flight, so they can act like they've done something fantastic again and getting something for their money. And this whole thing about, well, it's private individuals going up there, not NASA, whatever, scientists or pilots. Who fucking cares? It's still people who they've been trained for this flight, right? It's not like they just strapped them in and shot them up there. Who gives a shit what their profession? I don't know what that big deal is on that.
Well, don't you have to have NASA's permission, supposedly, quote unquote, to be able to even go up that high? Don't they, like, you got, what is it, Space Force and all that? They gotta, of course they're in on it, man. Come on. No. I don't see it as being a private situation.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not really private. But anyway, so yeah, I see a lot of bragging about that. I was reading the comments in some of the YouTube videos on the flight, like, oh, what are flat earthers going to say about this? Like, you guys think we've never seen pictures from 282,000 feet, or you think what new has been done here? Just more bullshit. But anyway, anything else exciting happening? No.
Well, I've been looking at the Battleship, right, and how the Coriolis, or how they adjust for weaponry shooting. It's perfect because it's 25 miles the trajectory. How many of you guys know about the Battleship? Do they miss often? Part I don't know. I just been doing the math. I don't know if they miss.
Oh,
often.
with the amount of refraction and Coriolis, you'd think they'd be missing all the time. Should be like they should be missing more than not. They should be shooting at things that aren't even there. No.
Right. Yeah, 25 miles.
Shells don't refract.
So 25 miles is perfect for triangulation, right? For the Coriolis, so you would get the hypotenuse out of that, and how much they'd have to shoot before.
Are you triangulating the refracted position
no,
or the actual
Coriolis?
position?
I'm doing the Coriolis, the actual position, right? It goes up to 25 miles.
How do you even know where that is, though?
But they say it shoots up to 25 miles. How's that possible? They would miss their target by roughly around 8 miles.
How confident are you that they'll miss?
I was just contemplating.
Pretty confident. Pretty confident. If it's 25 miles, yes.
I wouldn't want to try it on. Do you have a target, like put on a ball and have the ball spinning, and then do your calculations and then go shoot and then see if you hit it?
The sucker goes 90 at 25 miles. That's in 90 seconds. 90 seconds. So the Earth would move underneath them 25 miles in 90 seconds.
Now, where do you get that?
The hypotenuse, they had to shoot All right, hang on. Let me do all this again.
Yeah, we need to see some diagrams or some calculations here, Don.
Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and mention that last week we were talking about triangulation of a moving object. BioDual has still not provided any sorts of scientifically accredited source, nor anything really that says anything at all about being able to triangulate a moving object. He did provide one thing, which was basically an article about a vehicle manufacturer who is attempting to use triangulation for their parking and whatnot. And that article specifically explains that they are absolutely not triangulating a moving object.
No, you have to use calculus. It's an integral.
I remember you getting into this with BioDual last week.
I just wanted to point out the fact he still has not provided any sort of scientific source. The one thing he did provide was a news article about a vehicle manufacturer that says that they're using triangulation like in their parking technology. But if you read the article, it explains how it works, and it has nothing to do with triangulating a moving object whatsoever. It's triangulating a stationary object.
I feel like this should be an easy thing for him. Just to pull up some citation or reference.
It should be if it's real, but it's not real. You can't triangulate a moving object. In fact, this is basically what Rumpus demonstrated the other day when he was showing that that angle changing. Whenever we were talking about looking at a building in a distance, and he was moving that angle up and down, that's basically what the issue is you're moving that angle up and down, so the other angles are changing. If you're attempting to triangulate that one you're moving, it's not going to work.
Why not?
Because you can't have dynamic angles when you're trying to triangulate. That's why.
You can do it at any one instant. Why not?
Okay, so you can do it, you're saying, in one instant, which means it's not moving in that instant. It's still, which means you're not triangulating a moving object. You're triangulating a still object.
But it's moving.
It's not moving. The object itself is moving. The thing you're triangulating is a point in time where it wasn't moving.
So what?
It was because you're picking one point in time, so it's still.
So what?
What do you mean, so what? That's the whole point. He says you can triangulate a moving object. You absolutely can't.
Yes, you can. Just described how to do it. You do it at one instant.
No, you didn't. Okay, doing it at one instant is no longer triangulating a moving object. You're triangulating an object in one spot, not moving.
Come on, Bob.
But it's moving. Bob. You just said it's moving. It's a moving object.
Right. You're not triangulating the object anymore. You're triangulating the instant, not moving.
You're triangulating the object, which is moving.
No, you're not.
You're
not triangulating the object. The object's gone. You're not triangulating that anymore. You're using information from one point in time where the object no longer is. Therefore, you are not triangulating the object.
Just show him,
you can't do it.
Yo, just show him a citation. Just show him a citation saying
right.
you can triangulate a moving
source.
It's the same thing.
It should be easy peasy for you guys.
You absolutely can triangulate a moving object, and I have no problem saying that I was incorrect, but you will not find it. It's not possible.
The GPS does it on your car while you're driving.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, well, that's a story you can tell all day. You still haven't given me a scientific source.
If that's the case, it should be easy. That's what I mean. If that's the case, this should be easy for you. Go get it.
Yeah, it should be easy. I mean, if you're saying GPS does it, then just maybe find a source and Bob will be satisfied. Personally, I was kind of convinced by BioDual's argument last week. It makes sense to me that you could triangulate because you're just triangulating.
You can't. What you can do is you can pick a spot where the object was and use that information and triangulate where the object was at one point in time. But you're not triangulating the object anymore. The object's gone. You're triangulating a position where it was at one point in time. So you're only
you
triangulating
can do it at every point.
a moving thing.
You can do it at every point. It doesn't matter.
You can do it at a billion points. You'll never be triangulating the object. You'll only be triangulating the points.
You're always only triangulating a point. I mean, he's right? You'd have to calculate its movement and project that movement out, but you're not triangulating something moving. We'll have to see it, but get a source and let's settle this. I don't think this is a a big deal.
How about Jeff Bezos and his flying water heater? He's
Water
supposed
heater.
to fly into space too.
Yeah, I was just watching some of that video. It's not impressive. There's some very interesting shots of the Earth, but that's about it. So, Don, what is this that I'm looking at here? I'll share my screen. You put 2 images.
I'm doing it right. I'm trying to get all the stuff right now, actually.
Oh, you got more to go out there because you put 2 diagrams out there. I'm just wondering what they mean.
So if you read that, it is arced at a 45-degree angle.
What is arced? Is this the target itself, or is this the
gun? I'm just looking at the gun, the angle that it is.
Which one's the gun though on the diagram?
The caliber of the mark right there. I got it right there. I put it in the chat.
No, I mean, you got these 2 diagrams that you post. I'm sharing my screen now. You should be able to see them on there. You posted 2 diagrams. You've got pentagons, blue pentagon moving along a red line, and then you've got white triangle. Which one's the
Yeah,
gun?
it's just an object at 25 miles away.
All right.
Just an object at 25 miles from the boat, from the ship.
I posted
Which
in
one's
chat how
which one's the
GPS
gun though?
works.
I'm just trying to orient myself on your diagram. Which one's the ship?
None of them are the ship. The object that's right here, the first one to the left, is the moving target. It will move to the right. The both blue ones are the target. That's just representing how the movement underneath the trajectory would be, right?
Okay.
So in 90 seconds, right, that would be 39,100 kilometers that it would move underneath the bullet. That would be 25, roughly around 25 miles. So
you're accounting for the conserved momentum of the projectile.
The hypotenuse would be 39 miles if you triangulate it. It'd be roughly about around 8 miles before. Now Zanuck told me it's so I'm trying to do this. Zanuck told me it would be 1,000 feet before that, but he also said that for 20 miles. So it doesn't make no sense.
Are you accounting for the fact that the momentum is conserved for the projectile?
I'm counting for Coriolis effect. Period. That's all. The Earth rotating underneath it.
How does the Coriolis effect work?
Bullets. You guys say things. The Earth moves underneath trajectories, objects, bullets, guns, rifles, all that. This is 25 miles right here. Coriolis effect.
Yeah.
Just like how if you have a drone hovering over like a merry-go-round or something. What do you mean? How is it a?
It sounds like what you're saying is that as soon as the projectile leaves the barrel, it's no longer got its sideways momentum from the rotation of the gun that it was fired from.
Well, I'm trying to figure it all out right now.
Oh,
okay. So you got to remember that the projectile maintains its momentum that it had, and some of that momentum is sideways because it was on a spin when it was in the gun.
Yeah, there's quite a bit to this, Don. I've got some documents I can share with you that help you understand some of what's going on here. But I haven't thought about Coriolis for a long time, to be honest with you.
Coriolis is just spin drift from something spinning. The question is whether the Earth is spinning and or the space above the Earth is spinning, if at all. Most of the spin drift in these weapons could be from the spiraling of the rifle barrel or just the Magnus effect. You know, Coriolis is really irrelevant. There's other explanations.
But if that was the explanation, then why is it different shooting north or south? Why the deflection's different? Depending on what direction you're shooting.
Wind, spin barrel, Magnus effect, space itself, swirling over the unmoving Earth. There's other explanations.
That's cool. Lemon, we need an explanation that is different for north and south to have different directions depending on if you're doing it straight north, straight south, or anywhere in between. You get a very distinct difference.
As far as I heard, this was mostly conjectural. It's not really the case. Most of the time, they just, calculate for wind, and that's it. They don't really calculate for the Coriolis effect.
That
They
depends
We
on
talk
what
about
kind of
shooting anyway.
Depends on
distances.
the range, Lemon. Depends
Yeah,
on the
it
range.
depends on what kind of distances you're expecting to shoot. If you're just a hunter, like hunting deer, of course you're not going to care about Coriolis.
As far as I can tell, the record rifle shot is what, like a mile or two away, if that. I mean, we're not talking about hundreds of miles here. Are we talking about like that rail gun or something like that? Is that what we're talking about?
The battleship on the picture. 20 mile
Yeah,
range.
I think as far as I can tell, the Coriolis effect is irrelevant.
Yeah, you're wrong.
I personally haven't seen any convincing experimental evidence that proves that it's actually a thing, Earth-based Coriolis. We know Coriolis is a thing and as a concept, but
I think it's the fallacy of the irrelevant thesis. Do we see tornadoes going differently in the north and south in general? Sure, but this has nothing to do with rifling. Is it true? Sure, but it's irrelevant. It has nothing to do with guns at all.
Well, if you actually look into some of the like for example, like what Triple Crow just posted in chat of people that actually do long range sniper rifle shooting, you can actually see the effect of Coriolis. I haven't
That
seen
can be
that
chalked
exact.
up to the barreling of the rifle and or the Magnus effect, where you get drift and deflection based off of going through a medium. The Magnus effect could account for that with or without a Coriolis effect.
But Lemon, yes, Magnus effect and the rifling of the barrel can both affect the spin of a bullet. But why, if you shoot in one direction and then shoot in the other direction, like north and then south, or is it spinning in different, or is it deviating in different directions from the spin of the bullet? It clearly does not account for Coriolis.
I don't really see a difference to the north and the south unless you're talking about wind. Is it really relevant?
Here, I got you. Super glue a BB gun barrel with a BB, just to shoot the one BB out onto a ball that's spinning two directions, spinning one way while it's rotating the next, and then have like a fan or the wind or do it outside, you know what I mean? So it'd be rotating on one arm and then spinning, right? So you got the two directions and you got the little BB. Shoot it sitting still, then shoot it while it's moving one direction, then shoot it while it's moving both. You got three things you can do. And then see if there's deviation each time and have a target where it's going to hit. Have the target lined up when it's still, it hits the target, good to go, you're good to go. Okay, now spin it the one direction, see how it does it. Then spin it both and then see. See if there's any deviation. Use real wind, a real object spin it.
What are the observations in this video, Triple Crow, or anybody who's watched it, that this guy is describing? What is the point of this video that's demonstrating how Coriolis affects bullets drop at 1,000 yards? No one knows?
How Coriolis affects a bullet being dropped?
No, this video that Triple Crow posted, demonstrating how Coriolis affects bullet drop at 1,000 yards. I'm just wondering, why he posted it. What is the observation in this video that caused him to post it? Is he on?
Okay, so the video is actually not showing Coriolis. It's showing Yutvis effect, which some people could argue is like a subset of the Coriolis, but it is related to Coriolis in that it's because of spin. But it is not the deviation like left and right of a bullet. It's the deviation up and down of a bullet due to angular velocity or rotation.
I see. So this title's a little confused, but
So essentially, what he did in the video is he was shooting a target to the east and then shooting at a target to the west with the same exact aim, or like aiming at the exact same point on both targets, and yet on the one to the west he's shooting higher, and on the one to the east it's shooting lower. and that's
The
a
bullet is
demonstration.
landing higher or lower?
Yeah, it's landing higher or lower depending on if you're shooting west or east, even though you're aiming on the exact same spot and they're the same distance away.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting observation. Not sure we can draw any conclusions from that, but if that effect is indeed repeatable.
Yeah, you can't draw. I mean, you don't have to be able to draw any conclusions, but it is true that Coriolis, or the especially, which is what this effect is called, does predict this to happen due to a spinning Earth.
Tommy Bear,
Doing this alone isn't proof.
Let me ask you this. So is the atmosphere perfectly in lockstep with the Earth or not?
Not
Okay, so
perfectly.
It's not
perfectly. So you're claiming it's like 99%, but there's just this little bit that makes bullets do this? Is that what your belief is?
No, this has nothing to do with the wind.
Yeah, this is not atmospheric.
I didn't say anything about the wind. What I said is that the claim of the globe Earth is that the atmosphere is moving at lockstep. Therefore, we can't feel the spin or detect it in any way, shape, or form because we're just in this system that the atmosphere is moving right along with it. But then in Coriolis, with this bullet, all of a sudden now you're saying, well, not really. Actually, the bullet will deviate from the atmosphere that's supposed to be locked.
No, hold on. Even with perfectly adhering wind or atmosphere, Coriolis would still happen. It has nothing to do with whether the atmosphere is moving with the Earth or no. It has to do with inertial versus non-inertial reference frames. You don't have to account for the atmosphere in any way to talk about Coriolis.
Well, the atmosphere is where the Coriolis is happening, so of course you do.
Well, no, Coriolis affects the atmosphere as well as bullets, but the atmosphere does not affect the bullets. So Coriolis affects all of these things, but they're not like together.
Yeah, Coriolis affects the atmosphere. It would still affect the bullet, is what he's saying.
How did you identify that the cause of this effect that we see, this observation of the bullet either being lower or higher when he shoots this rifle? You said that some model predicts it.
Yeah, so
why does a spinning Earth make it higher and lower? That's what I'm failing to understand at this moment.
Hold on a minute. I want to know. He said it predicts it, and I guess it's kind of the same question. But what do you mean by that? How does it predict?
When you're shooting west, the rotation of the Earth will cause the target to be higher, whereas when you're shooting east, the rotation of the Earth will cause the target to be lower.
But
I know the theory.
That did occur. Well, because the Earth is moving, basically. So while the bullet's flying, the Earth is moving. That's his argument. But really, he only
it's
shot
not moving under an aeroplane.
He only shot 3 shots in each direction,
but it's not moving under an aeroplane.
And there was miraging effects. So I don't know how you could draw too much of a solid conclusion from this test. I'd rather see.
So if I fly from Sydney to Perth, flying directly west, why does it take the same amount of time as if I fly from Perth to Sydney? Because you've just admitted that
I'm not arguing for Coriolis. I'm not arguing for Coriolis.
We're getting away from the. We're kind of veering away from it.
And I'm trying to describe what happened. And what I'm saying is, I would rather see a test where he took a bunch of different shots at different times during the day, because for sure optical effects at that range are going to cause the aim point to maybe be off.
Yeah.
And so to try to draw a conclusion from just 3 rounds shot in each direction, I think is kind of a weak argument.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So you've got an observation here, but you've got to have repeatability, and it's probably not enough of a sample size to draw anything. But we can assume that
you can definitely repeat
Gummy, just 1 second quickly, 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm interested in this because, and Gunja, I agree with you, buddy. I'm not arguing with you. I wanted to focus on this for 1 second, Brandon, because every time Coriolis comes up, all they want to talk about when you're talking about aeroplanes is north and south travel. If ever I bring up the east and west argument, I get sidetracked off on some garbage excuse, but this guy has actually brought up the gun barrel east and west, and when I try and have this discussion, No glober ever wants to talk about it. They run away from it at 100 miles an hour. So now we've just yeah, cool.
Okay. Well, we can have the discussion. Go ahead, Effie.
So
then.
the main distinction is that when you're talking about complete or perfect east to west movement, it is actually the Yutvas effect that you're talking about, like the one in the video is talking about. While when you're moving any amount north and south, it is the Coriolis effect. And the reason for this is that when you're on the globe model, of course, this is all assuming globe model because that's what all of this is kind of based on, or at least my explanation is based on, is that if you're shooting perfectly east to west, you'd be perfectly following the direction of rotation of Earth. While if you're going the direction, not the velocity, the direction. So while if you go north or west, well then you're shooting in some way away from the direction of the rotation of Earth. And so Coriolis appears when you're somehow shooting away or in a different direction than parallel with the direction of the rotation. So when we want to talk about
but we've just from the gunshots on the target, we shoot west, it's higher, we shoot east, it's lower, or vice versa. So, I can't remember.
So west,
because the Earth is spinning underneath the projectile. But then there's some disconnect. There seems to be some disconnect as soon as we transfer this sentence to include aeroplane instead of projectile.
So
why does it move under the projectile but not the aeroplane? That's my question.
It would, or it does affect. No, hold on. It does affect airplanes as well, and it would. But the thing is that the Yutvas effect, when you go east to west, it actually doesn't, as you see on the target, it doesn't have anything to do with the deflection, like left or right of the bullet. It's up or down. And what this actually does is it technically makes things way less or way more, depending on the direction. And so technically, when you're in an airplane flying either straight west or straight right, you would way less or way more. But because of the low comparative speeds that you fly airplanes compared to shoot bullets, this effect of weighing less or weighing more is so low that you wouldn't notice it in any measurable way. It would be drowned out by all the other noise.
So okay, just let me clarify. So when we're going north and south, it's Coriolis, the Earth moving under the object in the air. But when we're traveling east and west, there's none of that, but the weight of the object changes. That's what we're claiming.
No. So the whole thing is the it's
May I
not
clarify,
that
guys?
Yeah, go ahead if you can.
Hey guys, in the general chat, JH just said it.
So Brandon,
it makes no
this
sense
is how they
saying triangulating motion. You triangulate position.
Hold on, Bob.
go.
We'll get to it, Bob. Hold on.
Brian, let me still mend their argument, right? This is how their argument is that because on the equator you're spinning more faster, and as you go to the north or south, the sphere is smaller. It's gonna be spinning on a slower rotating on a slower speed. You're gonna see a deviation from. That's why it only works for them. It only works from north to south or south to north, not east to west. You get it? So the that's their point. Their point is that because the equator is bigger, therefore it's rotating in a faster speed. When you shoot something going to the south, that is rotating on a slower speed. Therefore that's the deviation that you see. They don't understand our argument. They don't understand our argument that we tell them every single fucking day.
Well, so to be fully clear, what he just said, but in a bit shorter, like in a more term, with more of a term, is you're getting closer to the axis of rotation. And when you're going east to west, you're not getting closer to the axis of rotation. You're simply rotating along it at a constant radius. While if you're going any amount north and west, following the surface of Earth, you would either get closer or further away from the axis of rotation. And because if you're further or closer to the axis of rotation, you would also have a higher or lower angular velocity.
So what is it this shooting
velocity.
west or east? Why would that cause the round to go up or down? Why would there be that difference?
Well,
depending
if
on
you
which
want
way
to,
you're
It doesn't
shooting.
exist.
Yeah, you
It doesn't exist.
What's that?
So
Silent Zero?
he's saying west, east,
It
and west
doesn't
doesn't
exist, Brandon.
exist.
East and west?
Yeah, he's saying
East to
and west.
west, it doesn't exist. Yes. In their
What
model,
doesn't
it doesn't exist. It's only south to north.
No,
Or
it
north
is
to south.
so east to
Coriolis,
west.
I understand. So
Yeah.
I just want to kind of
So-
stick on the topic of this east to west supposed
So it's
deflection.
annoying that it's got a slightly weird name because it's got letters that don't exist in the English alphabet. The which is Yutvis effect, but if you replace it with O's, I can write it in chat just to show you.
Yeah, no, I'm
It's like that.
familiar
Yeah.
somewhat with it. It's been a
Yeah.
while since I've looked at it.
So
but-
it's the Yutvis effect more specifically, not the Coriolis that we'd be talking about here.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, Geo linked it. But yeah, so we're not saying
You can have a slight Coriolis effect do east or west too, because so when the bullet leaves the barrel, it has some linear momentum from the Earth spin and from the gun spin, because the gun was attached to the Earth. But the Earth, the surface of the Earth, is actually moving in a curve, not linear parallel to the bullet. So you can have a little bit of Coriolis that direction too.
Wow.
Yeah, to shoot east or west, you have to go in a circle. If you shoot, I think this is on either model, except for the globe model on the equator. Moving east to west involves constantly turning north or south of the equator on the ball model, and anywhere on the flat plane model.
Yeah,
Right?
if you're anywhere
So-
but the poles or the equator, and you go east or west on the globe, you're going to end up at the equator.
Yeah. So if you shoot east or west, you're actually
that's why it's only
not gonna
possible
follow
to
east or west.
Yeah, it's only possible to shoot perfectly east or west on the equator, on the globe Earth. If you're anywhere other than the equator, you cannot possibly shoot perfectly east or west.
Right, theoretically, yeah.
Theoretically, on the globe Earth, yes.
Yes, you can.
All right. So it just
No, not
described to
perfectly
me.
east or west.
Yes, you can.
I'm reading here the Authoritarian effect is a change in perceived gravitational force caused by the change in centrifugal acceleration resulting from east or westbound velocity.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Put that in layman terms.
Yeah. So it's not change in gravitational attraction in the sense that gravity is affecting it less. Rather, it's that the centrifugal force or centrifugal acceleration is counteracting or going in the same direction as gravity. So gravity is still the same. It's just being either contracted or like bolstered up with an additional acceleration, which is the centrifugal acceleration.
How did they?
So
oh, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
No. Yeah, I was just gonna say. So it's all just a matter of if you're shooting with the direction you're already spinning, you'll need more. You'll have a higher centrifugal acceleration than normal. If you're shooting in the direction you're not already spinning, you'll have a lower centrifugal acceleration than normal, and that's essentially the explanation of the Yutvis effect.
The Yutvis effect is a subset of the Coriolis effect.
Yeah.
So how did they experimentally isolate Earth rotation as the variable that causes this observation, this effect that we observe?
Because you do it in different places.
$1 million question.
You've got different places when you go and you find that the Earth's rotation changes the effect, and it's only the only thing that can be causing that is, for instance, your latitude will change the effect, and that's only described and explained by being on a globe Earth. You wouldn't get any similar effect on another shape.
Well, that's kind of a
It's sign of that.
unsatisfying answer.
Basically, he just said we assume globe Earth, and because they're
no,
it's what we would expect
what
on a
he
globe
said.
Earth. If
What
it
he
didn't
said
happen,
is what he said is try this on many different locations, and the result only matches up with that of a globe, of a spinning globe.
Correct.
not true. It doesn't only. I could come up with 10 different reasons as to why
No,
that
you couldn't. No, you couldn't.
Possible. Yes.
No, they've all been eliminated. The way to do it is to eliminate all the other causes, and you're only left with the cause due to the rotation of the Earth.
Well, tell us
The
about
equation-
how the
Why
other
would you do
causes
that?
have been eliminated.
Well,
This is what my question was. How did they experimentally isolate Earth rotation as the cause of this effect?
because we have an equation that says what will happen on globe Earth, and there are no other proposals that would explain it that agree with the
So a
laws of physics.
reification fallacy.
Well, just the proposal of the Coriolis force agrees with the theory of the rotation of the Earth. There is no other
So what?
explanation.
So
There
what?
is no other explanation. There is no other
It's
explanation.
just like everything else. For
Yeah, it
step
could be invisible
one,
green
assume a
pixels
globe.
doing it. It could be invisible green pixies. No, it's not. The
No,
globe.
no one's talking about
if you
invisible
assume a
green
globe-
pixies.
If you assume a globe, then you will end up with this effect. It's a necessary consequence of being on a globe. If you had other effects like invisible green pixies, it could be doing that. But in science, we say, well, we do not have any other known effects that could be causing it. We're only left with the rotation of the Earth. There is no other suggestion that anybody's ever made that can account for it other than the rotation. And we happen to know we are living on a rotating Earth, and we know that a necessary consequence of that is the Coriolis effect.
Just declare it. Rumpus, what the
It's a
hell?
necessary consequence of the rotation of the Earth, and we see it. If we didn't see it,
these
we
people.
would know we were not living on a rotating Earth. But because it's there, that's compatible, a necessary consequence of a rotating Earth.
When you say we, Rumpus, who is that? Is that you and your
Science.
your friend, or who is that?
Science says that.
Yeah,
Science
he thinks
says
science
things?
is an institution
Science,
that it produces edicts and that there's
Yeah,
some
the
pope of
scientific
science.
literature.
What's the
All
pope
of the
science?
scientific literature says this would happen.
All of the
for
scientific
rotating Earth.
literature.
All the
Yet you
scientific
c-
literature
yeah.
on this subject says this would happen for
Right.
rotating Earth.
I'm sure. All of the heliocentric literature says that it makes sense on the
Heliocentric has
model.
nothing to do with this. It's talking about the rotating Earth. I suppose
It
that's
comes from the
so-
holy men, the holy men of heliocentrism. It must be true.
scientific,
Scientific,
the
scientific, not
scientists.
heliocentric. Scientific.
Yeah, people who don't understand science, the people who understand that the Coriolis force, which is, I'm about to tell you something you're not going to understand, any of you, except perhaps some people, that the Coriolis force is caused by the cross product between the velocity of the object that's moving and the rotation. Excuse me, rotation axis of the Earth. Now, you're not going to understand what a cross product is, but there's a formula that gives you the Coriolis force. And that is entirely compatible with the theory of the rotating Earth. We cannot explain the behavior in any other way. And science does this. People who understand analytical geometry understand this. But obviously, if you're not familiar with analytical geometry, then you won't understand the explanations. But the people who do understand it says that this would be a necessary consequence of rotating Earth. And if we didn't have it, it would be a proof against the rotating Earth. The fact that we do have it is a confirmation of the rotating Earth.
Yeah, and,
So
and
that's a
also
nice
just
story.
to add on,
So I
just to
think
add
just
on
to
quick.
shorten your response to my original question of how did you experimentally isolate Earth rotation as the variable? You haven't. This is theoretical based on your model. Is that correct?
Which it's a necessary consequence of a rotating Earth, gives us this result. We see this result, and we know there are no other explanations. No one has ever suggested any other explanation for it, but it's a necessary consequence of rotating Earth, and we see it. Therefore, we say, aha, therefore that's a confirmation of rotating Earth, because there's no
I'm
other
sure
explanation.
you've looked hard too. Huh?
Science is like that. In science, you try and find, you have a proposal for something, and then you eliminate all the other possibilities that can be causing it. And if you're only left with one, then you say, this is our hypothesis. We then say this is a confirmation of it, although it could be invisible green
What were the
pixies,
other
but because
possibilities that you eliminated?
there are no other possibilities.
along
There are
the
no
other-
other possibilities.
okay.
We cannot manufacture any other possibilities.
So which ones were considered and then thrown out?
Well, there are none. There are none that can be considered because
There's none. There's no other possibilities.
There are no other possibilities besides invisible green pixies, or God does it.
Well,
no one's talking about ridiculous shit.
Try.
There are no other possibilities in physics. There are
it's not quite
unless you want to invent a strange new force, like some new particle that does something strange, or some strange force that's not been discovered yet, or invisible green pixies, or something we do not know anything about. We can't obviously eliminate things that we don't know about.
You said part of the scientific method that you went through was to eliminate other possibilities, and then you tell me that there was no other possibilities.
There are no other possibilities that offer the solution.
That's how science works.
How do you know there's no other possibilities if you haven't tested?
Because no one
or
has
none
proposed,
of everything.
No one has proposed an alternative explanation for it.
Science is not an absolute
Do
answer.
you guys have any alternative explanation, guys?
No, there are none. There are none.
No, you Rumpus. I'm asking the flat earther.
Alternative explanation. Therefore, only left with the one that works, and the one that we know the Earth rotates for very other reasons as well, and we know a consequence of a rotating Earth would give us the effect that we see. We see the effect, and that is therefore a confirmation, another confirmation of a rotating Earth.
All our weather forecasting is built around this principle.
Well, you can present lots of different attempts at explaining it, but they would all fall short at some point. I mean, you could try and say, okay, let's have a flat Earth, but it's spinning. Well, then that could account for some of the observations, but especially those on the equator and below would not match up with what you should expect. And then you can do stuff like say it's some sort of ether rotation, and see if that coincides.
Which experiments do you think could specifically falsify the idea that this effect could happen on a flat Earth?
Well, we have no current understanding of how anything on a flat Earth would make this apparent spinning or change of non-inertial reference frame to happen.
I know, but you've been assuming you've been living on a ball for 500 years. Modern science has.
Yeah, but
so it thinks of everything from that perspective. I'm trying to get to the guts of it.
It works.
How do we really know this? How did we experimentally prove these things? Or, I know we hate the word prove, but how did we experimentally establish these things?
The experiments agree with the theory of rotating Earth.
No, you stop assuming bullshit and you watch what happens in reality.
No, the reality matches the experiments we conduct in reality match the theory. There's a perfect agreement.
And you can't deny it unless you can say present an alternative or to have an option. You just say no. You hit a rotating target. I haven't saw any of you shoot a rotating target live. Rotating two different directions at two different speeds while it's moving. You hit the target. Huh?
Rotate. I don't understand what you're suggesting.
So I think that's an interesting that you say that we say nuh-uh. I haven't heard anybody say nuh-uh. All I've been asking for is the experimental evidence that this is based on. And I'm asking you to show me proof of falsification.
The video.
And get to the real meat of why you believe this.
Because the theory says that you will get a certain Coriolis effect from a rotating Earth. We then go out and do an experiment, and it matches the theory for rotating
How did you
Earth.
identify that the Earth was rotating in the first place in order to consider that as a possibility?
All the information we have says you've got a rotating Earth. All the experiments that you used to detect a rotating Earth, yes, it does. Everything.
No, not everything doesn't tell us that the Earth is rotating. That's not true.
To test whether the Earth is rotating.
We know something's rotating. We know the moon and the sun are rotate. We see them move in relation to us.
Yeah.
There is nothing that I can point to. Nowhere I can go to witness this phenomena of Earth rotation. Correct?
Yes, you can. You could
Where?
do something like go to the Bremen drop tower of 100 meters and drop something vertically, and you will see that it's deviated by the amount of the Earth's rotation.
And
if you get a weight, and if you
listen.
get a weight, and you change your latitude, it
That
changes
is not an
its weight
observation
according to the
of
latitude.
Earth rotation.
We
That's
also
an
can see the
observation of an
Doppler effect
effect
of
from
so that
dropping
we've got about
something,
10
and
different
those
ways of
tests
establishing the Earth's
have
rotation.
been highly variable.
Brandon, this is an example perfectly of you saying "nuh-uh." By the way,
I'm not
that's
saying
a perfect
nuh-uh.
explanation. It's a perfect explanation that Rumpus provided.
doesn't it?
It's a
Produce
perfect
it, Miles,
explanation of what
produce
Rumpus
the
was talking about
experiment.
and exactly how you could detect it.
Show what he's
Perfect
talking
explanation,
about.
and your reply was, "Well, no, that's not what it's doing." That's a
Dropping
no.
something and having a deviation
Yeah, that's
from the
rejecting a
position where I
ridiculous
dropped
claim,
it to
which
the
is perfectly
ground
legitimate.
is a demonstration of Earth rotation.
Yeah, it doesn't drop vertically.
So
It
what?
drops in the angle.
You don't know what caused it not to drop vertically.
We do, but
You
again,
just
if
drop
you're
it and
saying
say there's a
"nuh-uh" doesn't mean we
deviation,
don't.
and then say Earth rotated.
Just because you say
Same
"nuh-uh"
thing as
doesn't mean
with
we
the
don't
outposts.
understand it, Brandon.
It's all the same.
And just because you say "yaha" doesn't mean that it is.
Rotating Earth. They agree completely.
At this point, you can say that it
What
was
about
to
when you
fix
drop
it.
it and hit your
It was a
target?
unicorn, right? And they have no way to disprove you.
Yeah, but you then need to prove the existence of a unicorn and that's having some force effect. But it's not. All the other effects we've
Well,
got
then you need to prove that Earth is
are
rotating, idiot.
eliminated.
That's my
There
point.
are no other
That's my
forces that are
point.
possibly
These guys are
causing
really
this
quick to
thing
bring
to
up
do
the
what it
"nuh-uh"
does.
thing, but they don't
We're
seem to
only
be
left with the
talking
rotation
about
of
their
the Earth.
"yaha" argument.
There's no way
Them
to
saying
have
"yaha" doesn't make it true either.
No, it's interesting, Bob,
Rumpus,
because all I've been asking for
you're
is
saying
experimental evidence, and already I've got Bio attacking my character, and I've got
I'm not attacking
Rumpus telling me I don't
I'm
understand.
attacking your argument.
No,
Your argument
only
is "nuh-uh."
No, not really, Bio. I know what you're doing.
Only retards think that.
I would also say
"Nuh-uh"
thanks,
is
Bob.
a valid
I'd also
argument
say
when you
thanks,
make
Bob.
an outlandish claim.
We have measurements.
Outlandish claims
I
should
didn't
be
hear it.
dismissed with "nuh-uh" because they're stupid.
I didn't
Again,
hear "nuh-uh"
thanks,
at
Bob.
all from Brandon. What I heard is that he was asking for isolation, verification, and falsification of, which is the scientific method.
Yep.
That's what he was asking for, to actually isolate it. He was asking for that. He wasn't saying "nuh-uh." What he was saying "nuh-uh" to, actually, the only thing he said "nuh-uh" to is when Rumpus was making all these fallacies and reification fallacies and assumptions, and he was not saying "nuh-uh" to that. He was just basically pointing out that isn't you're not scientifically isolating anything.
That's
He's just
exactly
making
what science does. Look, if you have a
Rumpus, hang on, Rumpus, you said, Rumpus, you said,
just quickly
we
say,
know.
when you're in science, you have a phenomenon. You then propose some explanations for it. Then you try and remove any other. You have one idea what's causing it, and then you try and remove all the other possible causes in an experiment, so that you then
Where's
have
the
only got the
spinning
one
ball?
thing that's making a cause.
Where's the spinning ball?
This
You
is
made
science.
that experiment.
You
This
said,
is science.
Rumpus, that you know
We're on a
exactly
spinning
what
sphere. We're on
causes
a
it.
spinning
Hold on
sphere.
a second.
That's where we
With
are.
the drop, with the drop tower,
experiment
you said
with a
you know
spinning ball.
exactly what causes the deviation. That was your words.
Why do you guys keep talking
Yes,
around this?
correct.
Hold on,
We do know
D-Mac.
what
FE
causes
did,
it.
Okay,
did
but hang on.
speak before that and got
Yes,
shut
yes,
down
we
by
do.
So you
Rumpus.
go to a drop
go
tower.
FE, and then go D-Mac.
Yes, we do know what
Cool.
causes the deviation.
So Rumpus, you go to your drop tower, you drop your ball bearing or whatever it is, and it deviates. And you're sitting here telling us you know exactly what causes that. So you drop a ball bearing, and something happens which is invisible and undetectable, and then you say we know exactly what causes that. Do you know how logically ridiculous that statement is?
We have a phenomenon that is a necessary consequence of a rotating Earth. We then drop a ball and it exactly matches the theory behind a rotating Earth. So they agree with one. That's how science works. You then see an effect.
All right.
You
hold
predict,
on,
and then you
Rumpus,
see if
hold
you
on.
you
If this
expect
is-
see if
Rumpus,
the real
hold on a
world matches your prediction, and if it does, you say, "Aha, my prediction's probably right then." And then you make sure there aren't any other causes.
Yeah.
that you can think
We
of,
know.
and then you're left with the one that you
Yeah,
do. And
we
if
know
it
the
works
waffle.
every
Shut the
single
fuck
time in all
up. Keep it
situations,
short.
you're sorted.
If this is science, what's your hypothesis?
That the Earth is rotating and it will cause this effect.
So, what was your dependent variable?
The
effect
difference between
of the ball
vertical,
deviation?
the difference between the vertical, the position where it lands, and the position directly vertical from where you drop it. That offset.
And your IV is
Latitude, a different latitude.
Yeah, the latitude.
Oh yeah.
And your height.
not Earth rotation. Not Earth rotation.
Yeah, there are three. This is the thing that flat is never covered. There are three factors.
Devastating point,
Here we go.
Rumpus. Address this point, Rumpus. Address the devastating point you just made, Rumpus.
I am, and you're interrupting me. I'm trying to address it. There are normally, in the real world, every effect has more than one cause. And in the hold on, and in the deviation, there are three causes.
I guess there's no such thing as science then.
One cause is the rotation of the Earth. The second cause is the height from which you drop it. And the third one is the latitude of your thing. So we've got three independent variables. So what we do is we've obviously got one fixed in the rotation of the Earth, and then we can fix the height, and then we can change our latitude, or we could change our height. You can decide in an experiment. You can decide in an experiment what your control variable is. Then you get. So you have three independent variables and one dependent.
So you can't remove the thing that you assume that it is, therefore you can't confirm that it doesn't work without that.
You love to interrupt me while I'm in mid-explanation.
You're already fucked. You're already fucked. You realize
no, I'm not.
You realize the
You don't understand there are three independent variables.
Hey, Rumpus, shut the fuck up.
And for every independent variable, the experimenter needs to manipulate it.
No, it doesn't.
Well,
right. In an experiment, you've got to hold all but one of the independent variables static, so they're controlled variables. In any experiment,
it's not an independent variable.
One independent variable, and all the other independent variables you're not interested in, you make them controlled variables, and you fix them. They still have to be there, but you make them controlled. There are three sorts of independent variables in an experiment: the independent variable, the controlled variable, and the dependent variable. And you hold all the other independent variables.
All right.
Listen, all you have to worry about is resistance.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
And you have to
follow up on that.
Well, if he's saying it's a control variable, then it's not an independent variable. So I mean, he lost.
It's semantics. It's semantics. So you're not when you change
the ball bearing, if you take the ball bearing to a higher altitude,
semantics. When you want words to actually mean something, they'll screech semantics and say that you're wrong.
Effie wasn't talking. Go ahead, Bob.
All right.
If you have a problem with controlled variables, you don't understand how an experiment works.
No one has a problem with control variables. The only variable you're manipulating is the latitude. So you've identified
I can vary the height
as
well.
the cause of the deviation.
But maybe the height as well, Brandon. So if you take the ball bearing to a higher altitude, you'll get a greater deviation. So does that mean that height causes deviation?
There are three independent variables in the deviation.
Here he goes again.
It's so simple.
There are
Don't repeat the whole thing.
independent variables in the experiment I described. One is the rotation speed of the Earth. The second one is the height from which you drop it. And the third one is the latitude.
We heard it all the first time. There's no need to do it again.
Listen, we understand what you're saying. We're saying that you're saying stupid stuff.
All right, so it's very simple. Effie, yes.
The conclusion is no, not your turn, Bio. Hold on.
The
conclusion is
my turn.
Just give me 1 second. The conclusion is either Rumpus doesn't understand how science works, or he's just lying.
I'm so glad that you said that instead of me
speaking. You don't understand experiments. You don't understand control variables, do you? You don't understand that a dependent variable has more than one cause. More than one independent variable causes it. This is typical flat. You never can cope with more than one cause of an effect.
Right,
in the case I'm talking about, there are three causes that cause the thing not to fall.
D-Mock, go ahead.
Three of them, Jeremy. Three of them.
Your mic's a little low, D-Mock. I think that might be the problem for you. Go ahead, D-Mock.
So there are three causes to the effect that I'm describing. I don't know why that's such a problem for flatties.
It's so much simpler than that. And Effie brought up a great point.
I just said D-Mock. Go ahead,
D-Mock. Man. I can't wait for this these words of wisdom from Debunk.
All they have to worry about is resistance, right? The resistance that's going to hit it, which is
it's in a vacuum.
So,
why are you interrupting? Go ahead.
That's all you have to worry about is resistance, no matter what you're talking about for something hitting another thing. The resistance that would stop it would be the medium, right? So if you don't have the medium and then you have movement, so if you have like a ball, right, that's hooked to an object and it's spinning one direction, it's going around in a circle, right? And then it's spinning also. And then you have another thing just sitting there waiting to shoot you, and you do your calculation, then you start your thing up, and then your little BB hits the target. That's what we need to see.
Are you still talking about the same thing?
No, he's not.
Yeah.
So Effie brought up a
so I think
a great
go
point.
ahead, Bio. Go ahead.
Effie brought up a great point in which if we want to just test the height, that we get a greater deviation at a greater height. That's fantastic. What we can also do is we could turn 180 degrees, go to the other side of the building, and we could do the same thing. It's going to deviate in the same direction. So we know that height is not exactly causing the direction and that deviation. So there would be more investigation needed, and you can come up with a hypothesis that the ground that we're on is rotating, and it would perfectly explain that direction. So you can further investigate, but that is a good point in which you can manipulate the height and the direction that you're doing this.
Yeah, you could. I don't know why you would choose to, at that point, come up with a hypothesis that the ground underneath you is moving. But yeah, you could do that.
Well, for his specific example, so let's say we truly had no idea what the shape of the Earth was, and we didn't know it was moving, and there is a claim that it's stationary. So we go to a height of 100 feet, we drop this object, we measure the deviation. We go to 1,000 feet, we measure that deviation. So we can say, okay, if we think it's just height causing deviation, what we should be able to see is the same direction of deviation relative to you occurs on the other side of the building. What we see is that it's going the opposite direction relative to you. So before it was moving away from you, deviating. Now when you go to the other side of the building and drop it, now it's coming towards you, deviating. So we know that just the height is incomplete in the explanation of what's going on.
Your whole explanation, though, Bio, is so predicated on the fact that your mindset is that the world is spinning. If you had no idea of any of it and you went to a tower and dropped it and you found deviation, then you went higher and you found greater deviation, you wouldn't think, oh, maybe the ground is spinning underneath me. Let's turn around and do it in the other direction on the other side of the building. You wouldn't think that.
Yes,
you would think, oh, the higher I go, the more...
There are no other explanations.
No.
There are no other explanations.
That's science for you right there.
Experiment, and you're going to hit the right answer the first time instantly in your mind. Really?
There
Really?
are no other
Really?
explanations.
No other explanations.
Suggest
That's
one.
the scientific credo, isn't it?
So
you can have 100.
No scientist has found an alternative explanation.
Here's a more honest way to put it.
No reason to think the Earth is rotating. If anything, you might think it's moving, but you wouldn't think it's rotating.
We've 10 independent ways of proving it's rotating, and this is one of them.
All fucking day.
We've got 10 independent ways of measuring that the Earth's rotating, at least. And this is
but
just
we're not
one
talking
of them.
about that. We're talking about if you didn't know any of that and you did this one experiment, right?
The rotating Earth necessarily creates these phenomena, and all the phenomena we would expect to be created do exist and are measurable.
On your computer screen, sure. But in reality,
They are agreeing doesn't mean jack shit, Rumpus. That would be a fallacy.
You think if we do an experiment in which there is a prediction as a result of the rotating Earth model, and we get the right result for that, you don't think that means anything? That's what experiments do. You're verifying your theory by experiment. That's what experiments are about.
No. Now listen, Rumpus. If you see an effect, right, and you can insert, let's say I see that deviation, and I say, well, it's a unicorn fart, right? And I see the deviation every time, and I make calculations. That just because I say it's a unicorn fart doesn't mean that
But
that's
you have
what's
to then
happening.
prove there's been a unicorn fart, and you can't
That's
do that.
what-
No one has ever
Hold
been able
on.
to do that.
There you
Whereas
go.
we can
There you go.
prove
That's
that
what
the
we're
Earth is
asking
rotating.
you. Hold
You've
on,
got to
guys.
come up
That's
with
what
a
we're
causal
Rumpus.
system.
Let
You
me
can't.
answer you, Rumpus. That's what we are asking from you to prove that unicorn, the globe spinning. That's what we're
We've
asking.
eliminated that
You're
as a
seeing a
possibility.
fucking effect. You're seeing
We've
a fucking
eliminated that
effect,
as
and
a
you're
possibility.
inserting your imagination into that effect.
are
We're
no
asking
other
you to prove
explanations,
the
Silas.
unicorn in
There
that
are
effect.
no other explanations.
Yes, a unicorn is another explanation.
No, it's
there
not,
you
because
go.
we don't see unicorns. They don't exist. That's not an explanation, is it?
The Earth spinning doesn't
Put it on a
exist either.
poster.
Yes, it does.
There are
We've
no
got
other
10 different ways of
explanations.
showing the Earth
Prove it.
rotating.
Show it.
This
Prove
is
it.
one of
That's
them.
what we want. Proof.
It is proof.
Hey,
There's no
you're
other
right.
explanation for
Yeah,
it.
the unicorn
The way
is
that
also
science
proof.
works is we say,
I
what are
got you
the
on this one.
explanations that could
Hey,
be
Rumpus,
for it?
can you
You're then
stop
only left
fucking
with
starting
one.
sentences with "this is how science works" and just get to the fucking point?
The
So
point
you said
is
you got 10
that there are
different
no
ways
other
to prove that the
explanations for it,
Earth
and we have one that
is
works
rotating.
perfectly.
You've given
And
us
it works
2 so
perfectly. It
far.
gives the results we expect.
You referred to the drop tower test as one of them. So,
Yep.
what is another one?
Focal pendulum.
Focal pendulum.
It's
The
only
fact that
Same
the weight
exact
of things-
argument.
The fact that the
It's
weight
the same
of
thing
things,
from
the fact that, no, it's
Brandon.
not the same thing. It's a very different thing. The
It's the
weight of
same
things
exact
varies
thing.
with latitude.
They see
The
something
weight of
happening and they
objects,
insert their
the weight
fucking.
of objects
Why?
varies with latitude is another
Why would
example.
the
Don't know,
elevation
but
matter?
A
I
gyroscope,
cannot
a
understand rumpus and
gyroscope,
somebody else.
as per
Rumpus!
Bob Nodell, is a
Rumpus! Oh, God.
Why would elevation matter in a vacuum with
Go
no
ahead.
resistance?
Go ahead, Stacy. Go ahead, Stacy.
No. Come on. Sorry,
You're
we're
breaking
lagging
up.
here in the United Kingdom.
Does
but
anybody
for
else
me,
want
it's
to
not even
pick
about
up?
trying to talk right now. I just want people to respect when other people are talking because I cannot understand rumpus, you talking over everybody. Please. That's all I'm asking because I'm just here to listen tonight.
So,
I feel like
does
Silent
anybody
Zero,
want to
um,
pick up where Rumpus left off and give
I've
us an
barely been able to
example?
finish a single sentence.
I don't want
Rumpus,
to
your
pick up where he left
sentences are paragraphs.
Well, because
Well,
they
I
need
just wanted to
it's moderately complicated to understand.
you.
So I try
Not.
and give you the background to it
No,
so
it's
that you can
not.
understand it.
Why?
But then I get people
why would
like Silent
elevation
Zero or
matter
Luna
in a,
interrupting me mid-sentence.
Okay, okay, but
why
instead of
would
that, the
elevation
Silent Zero.
matter in a vacuum? If
Hold,
there's no
hold,
resistance in a
hold on.
vacuum, why would elevation matter
Okay,
at all? Explain that.
Because of the rotation of the Earth. You have it in a vacuum. You have a drop tower in a vacuum to eliminate the effects of air resistance.
Okay, and then I wanted to address what Silent
To
Zero had
see
said
how-
that didn't
to
get
see
addressed.
how-
When Silent Zero,
What's up, Kosho?
when Silent Zero said the thing about unicorn farts, the big distinction there is not it's not the fact that you can arbitrarily claim that it's something else. You can't say, oh well, it could be this. The thing that sets it aside is the thing that sets it aside and that shows you that it's that thing is you can claim it's that thing, it's unicorn farts, and then you have to come up with what the consequences of it being unicorn farts would be to then
Well, then
look
you
back
need
at
to
the
leave
observation.
the air in.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
Listen,
can I answer him?
Yes, he didn't finish though.
You can't answer yet. I haven't finished it yet. So hold on.
Oh, okay.
The point is that you take the implications of what you're coming up with, like unicorn farts, and then you have to determine what that would mean, what you would expect to see when you go back and look at the observation in order to find the hints of it being those unicorn farts. So that's what he means by the about using predictions. You make predictions based on your idea of what's supposed to happen, and then you go back and look at the observation
No, not your
based on those
idea.
predictions.
Hold on. Let me answer.
That
No,
are
not
based
an
on
idea. You're basing
your
on reality.
How do you have a prediction that you observe of something that you observed previously, Kosho?
You don't do that. You don't make a prediction based on what you've
hold on.
already.
All right. So,
You make the
we
prediction-
see
you make the
in
prediction
first
based-
hold on. In first instance, we see the
understand what you're saying,
object deviating, right?
I understand what you're saying, man. What I'm telling you is the prediction is not based on what you've already seen. It's based on the implications of what
I'm asking
your
you,
proposed
Kosho.
cause is.
But
Well,
let's
I'm
never
asking
forget
you,
that
Kosho.
that
I'm
live
asking
stream
you.
people are listening. So the
Okay.
people that don't know, can you answer him, please, Kosho?
Yeah, but
I'm
that's
asking
what
you,
it is.
Kosho. I'm asking you if what was first, the observation or your thing? You just went into the field and said, "I'm gonna shoot to see if the Earth is spinning," or do you shoot something and you saw deviation and then you shot on another way and you saw deviation? Hold on, let me finish. And then you start thinking like, "Oh, this may be the Earth spinning," right? So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
which
If
one
you
was
look at-
first?
I understand the question. If you look at, let's say Foucault's pendulum, for example, you would say,
Answer the
okay,
question, holy shit.
I'm answering the question and giving you an example. You'd say, okay, I think the Earth's spinning first. That's what I think because I saw this. I saw, the stars moving, whatever. I'm going
Well,
to
hold on. What did you say
hold,
first?
hold on. I'm trying to answer your question. Because the way that you do it is that you determine, okay, if the Earth is rotating, then that would cause.
You're right, but
deviate.
no, Coach. Look, there's a reason why he's asking this question the way he's asking. You know that, please.
No,
So, Coach,
You don't insert. Kosho.
Hold on.
Yeah, I
Let him
understand.
answer.
I
Which
this.
one
understand
was
his question,
first?
why he's asking it.
Well, if you guys are asking Kosho a question, you got to let him answer it the way he wants to answer.
He's
it.
not
If you want-
answering the question though.
Well, you
Just
have
let
to
him
let
get
him
to the end,
respond.
though.
He's
He
a
might
human
have
being.
been
He has to
getting
be able
into
to. He has to just respond the way he wants. If you can ask him a second one, but you can't control
He's
how he
got
answers.
no idea what he's talking about. I don't know why anyone would ask him anything.
I'll be quiet. I'll listen to his ramble. Go ahead.
Silent Zero, let me repeat back what you're saying to make sure that I'm responding to it, okay? What you're asking is, did the observation come first? The observation of the reason why you're imagining that it's rotating, or you're claiming it's rotating, or did the prediction that it's rotating come first?
Right.
Because you're making a prediction, but that's not what the predict. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The prediction and the observation are not the same thing. The observation is what you're seeing evidence of it rotating, and so you're going to make a claim that it is. But what you're looking for when you're making your prediction is the exact. What you're looking for when you're making your prediction is a prediction based on the exact consequences of it rotating. Like something.
But hold on. See, this is the problem right there. Let me point out the problem right here. See, but you observed that effect already previously.
That's what I'm saying. That's not
so
true.
There's no prediction.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying to you. That's not true. You're not predicting the same thing you've already observed.
So you're admitting it. It's okay. It's okay, but you're conceding the fact that you have not observed that.
No, I'm telling you, and in the example, the thing that you're predicting is not going to be the same thing as the observation you've already made. The prediction is going to be based on the implications of your idea being true. So if you think the Earth is rotating, then there should be consequences
of the idea being true.
Yeah, exactly. So
based on what?
Based on, like, let's say, for instance, you see the stars rotating, and so that gives you the idea that the Earth's rotating. They may not be true, and so what you do is you say, well, if the Earth is rotating, then you would expect this to happen. You would expect something like the Foucault's pendulum or something like that, which is not something that was observed at first.
Can I ask you a question? What gives you the idea that the Earth is rotating and the sky is not? What gave you the idea that the Earth was rotating and the sky group, like you're observing, wasn't?
That's why you do the test. That's where the test comes in, because you can make that hypothesis and not yet be true, but that's why you make that test. The test is to make a distinction between whether it's the sky or the Earth moving. But all you have is a hints of the Earth moving. But you're right. At that point, it could be the Earth moving or the sky moving.
Let's suppose you did believe that. Let's suppose you believe the Earth was stationary. Let's suppose you believe the Earth was stationary. And you think, okay, if we do that and we drop something, if the Earth is stationary, it must fall down vertically. That's what you say. You then go away.
I would not say that at all.
And then you find that doesn't happen. That invalidates.
Why would you say something
I
stupid
would
like
not say that at all.
We then have to come up with another explanation of what predictions
I will not
made by
say
the
that
globe
at
model
all.
say that do match reality.
I got one for you guys.
You test the consequences of your theory, i.e. the Earth is stationary, and you say, what are the consequences of that? And then you test in the real world with experiment and observation whether you see the things that confirm your theory or your hypothesis.
That would be a dumbass theory to make in the first place.
You just made an assumption that we would say.
It doesn't matter how dumbass it seems. If it matches reality, it's right.
No, if I say if we were on a stationary plane with the stars and the sun and the moon moving over it,
it's correct.
If I say if I were on a stationary plane and I dropped something, it would drop straight down. That would be a dumb thing to say.
There you go.
Why?
Yeah.
Period.
Here, I got something that shuts this whole thing down. Because
how would you know that?
Yeah, how would you know that?
Take all.
Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it?
I'm sorry.
There's so many other things that can affect something dropping.
Right now and try and drop it straight down.
Wait, can we please stop here? I am so tired of hearing about what you Globers think happens on a fucking flat Earth. Please show me the citation to what you just claimed.
Yeah, I agree. You guys always do that.
On a flat
you
Earth,
create a straw man and say, on a flat Earth, this would happen.
What do you think on a flat Earth would happen if you dropped something in a vacuum, so there's no wind or air resistance?
Exactly, Brandon.
What
no.
would prediction?
Show me your citation that you just claimed would happen on a fucking flat Earth, Rumpus.
Rumpus,
show me your citation.
No,
you do not know.
The flat Earth is not science. There is no science for the flat Earth.
Give us a goddamn flat Earth model.
Yeah.
The problem is not that we don't know what would happen on a flat Earth. The problem is that we have no reason to suggest that anything else would happen. And in lieu of that, it is safe to say that it should go straight down, and if it didn't, it would confirm the other.
No. You have
No.
no reason to suggest it wouldn't happen
Yeah,
because you're locked in a model.
That's retarded.
You're locked in a
but there doesn't.
So if
there
you
doesn't
didn't,
exist
if
a
you
reason.
didn't have the model,
There doesn't exist
you
a
would not
reason for
have the
keeping it.
understanding that you have now, though, right?
Stacy, give us the model then.
No.
Yeah, you
Stay-
propose,
no, but
propose
model-
propose
I
a
never
mechanism.
said I had a model. You
You
course.
Okay, but
propose a mechanism, or
gave a
you
model.
cite.
I'm
Well,
saying
then
your
how do you
model
know what
is
he proposes
bullshit.
wrong?
Give me a
You
model
cite
that works
an
correctly, and we'll
advocate
talk
of this
about it.
that explains it. You cite a flat earther explaining this phenomenon. Then
I don't need to.
right,
You
you
know,
haven't
Rumpus, why I
got
don't
one.
need to.
There we go.
Wait,
You do
I'll
not have an
explain to you
explanation
right now
for
why
this
I don't need
behavior,
to.
whereas we
I will
do.
explain
Oh,
why
we
I
win.
don't need to do. Quit talking like you always do. I don't
You
have
do not
to
have
show
an
a model because
explanation
I
for
never
this
claimed I
phenomenon.
had one.
It
The problem
violates the
is
flat
your
Earth model,
fucking
and it
people that you
agrees
believe
with the
in claimed
globe
there was a
model.
model.
Therefore, the globe model
They
Yeah,
claimed
we're
that
not
there
the
was
ones
a
making
model that
claims
that's
about things,
the
how
world, and
things
there
have to
isn't.
work.
Rumpus,
You know, you can just make shit
they
up. I
have
got
to
it,
work,
Babs.
and they don't work.
Yeah, okay, but
Well, I
models.
can point out
No, we
at least
don't.
two
We just
things.
reject your
Let me
retarded
point
idea.
out
That's
at
all.
least
No,
two
you
things
don't
that.
have
Hold
anything
on,
to
guys.
explain it. I gotcha.
Let me point
Guys, we're
out
talking
two
about
things
models.
at least
We
that
don't
we
need to
can
talk
take
about
into
models.
account, guys, when we drop something,
Moderator.
right? It can be the shape of the object, it can be the air around it, and it
No.
can be the
Yeah, but no,
initial. It can be the initial push with what you
No.
let go the object. See, there you
Listen, when
go,
you do-
Brandon.
when you
Three
do a test-
no's, right? Right
I'm not
there.
saying-
because
I'm not
you
Three,
don't
saying
explain
no,
shit.
no.
Nuh-uh,
To affirmative
zero.
explanation.
Zero.
Fuck you guys. See?
You're not explaining shit.
Maybe not.
Nuh-uh, it's like you guys saying, well, maybe it's wind, or maybe it's this, or maybe it's something else. Prove it.
Stop doing that, dude. Dude,
Prove it.
you're taking away from the conversation. There's this. First of all, this was nipped in the bud by saying you do. This is why you do scientific testing the way you do them. You isolate it by putting it.
You
in
don't
a
know what
vacuum.
scientific test is.
Then, if you put it in a vacuum, the shape of it, the wind, all that stuff doesn't matter. There's no mechanism that we know of that would cause it to deviate if the Earth were flat.
Can't make
That's a lie.
Yeah, no, that is true. No, I just said a true statement. We don't know of a
show me
mechanism
the
that would do
three.
that.
All right, hold
We
on.
don't-
Show me
We
the
can't
three
make
foot
vacuums,
story
so we
where
don't know that's how it works.
You're obviously not listening to what I'm saying, because if you
show me
disagree with
the
that, then
building that it was a
you're lying.
vacuum, buddy, and you let go the things.
No,
they
we don't
do
have a
all the time.
vacuum, so we can't know
Destroys
that that's how it works.
the globe model here. Like you can
You
even
guys are
give it,
such a fucking disingenuous people, man.
like if you hand wave
How
this
is
Coriolis
it
effect,
disingenuous to say that there's no mechanism that we know of that would cause it to move on a flat stationary Earth? It doesn't say there's not. Doesn't say there's not a mechanism to do it. It says there's no human in the world that knows of a mechanism that would do that.
Well,
So
yeah,
because
the
we
thing
don't
is,
have a
though, Coach,
mechanism that would do that, it's safe to say that it.
well, but there's several things that we can observe in our environment. Like if you and I were just in the middle of the jungle and we never were showed a globe or anything like that, and we were talking about it, we would definitely look up and be like, wow, all the stars and the sun and the moon are moving. We can measure magnetic fields. So clearly there's a magnetic field in the environment. There's also 100 volts per meter in electrical potential coming off the surface of the Earth. So even with just those things in general, we already know that there's movement above us. There's a field that we're within. So I would go much more likely to think about the field, the medium that we're in, having something to do with why everything is happening, rather than some theory that that the ground is moving at thousands of miles an hour.
Gio, you
Not
just
to
said we're in the
mention all
jungle
of the
and we
other
don't
things
have.
that we see as impacts of the stars and the sun moving above us. Or did you guys forget that you blame the tides on the movement of the celestial bodies?
Real quick, Gio, you said we're in the jungle. We have no preconceptions of things, and then you state this 100 volts of potential energy within the atmosphere, as well as magnetic fields. How do we ignore what the shape of the Earth is, but we understand those two things when we're in the jungle? You can't just make shit
You
up on
can
the fly,
directly
Gio.
measure those things. You can't directly measure any motion.
You can
of the Earth
directly
further.
measure the rotation of the Earth using
No,
a
you
gyroscope.
cannot.
Of course you can.
No,
You
of
absolutely
course you
cannot
can't.
do that.
I know. If you want to say the words "we can't," that's fine. But that's just like saying you can't measure
Yeah,
the
I know it's
length
fine
of.
because it's true.
That's
We
just
can't.
like saying you can't
it's
measure
fine.
the length of
Of course
something
it's fine
with
to
a
tell the
ruler.
truth.
No,
Why
again,
wouldn't it
it's
be fine to
very
tell the
you
different
don't
than
want me to
saying
get to
that.
the end of it, Bob. I understand. It's the same principle of I can't use a ruler.
You
to
already
measure
to
the
the
length
end of
of
it. You
something.
said I could say
I
it.
can't use a gyroscope to measure rotational acceleration.
No, you cannot use a gyroscope to measure rotation of our giant Earth.
Okay,
Nope.
well, everything disagrees with you. Your personal opinion is
No, not
validated
everything.
by validation.
Reality gravity doesn't disagree with me, so I got that.
The way that gyroscopes operate and what they detect and measure 100% disagrees with your personal opinion.
Absolutely not.
I got something that it shows a contradiction. This idea of the Coriolis effect, spinning, causes storms to spin, counterclockwise, northern hemisphere, clockwise, southern hemisphere. But none of them can explain why this. If they say if their story's true, it should be observable, repeatable, and measurable. You can look at Jupiter and debunk it. The storm on Jupiter spins the opposite direction, and yet they say Jupiter's bigger, spinning faster. If anything, it should be magnified. The same effect magnified.
Crit, what direction does it? What direction does Jupiter itself rotate?
The same direction as Earth.
Interesting. How do you know that? Let me find that information for you, Crit.
Yeah, so you guys don't even know the model you're preaching. That's
no. I didn't disagree with you, Crit. I'm gonna find that information for you.
Disagree. The whole thing's horseshit. You can't proficiently even regurgitate a model you think is 100% correct. That's breathtaking too.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of information when it comes to the universe.
That's what I'm saying. It would take you lifetimes. It would take you lifetimes to master the content.
You are allowed to finish your shit. Come on.
Yeah, it would take you lifetimes to master this content, but you deny it yourself. To talk about flat Earth every.
Shout out to Silent Zero. Yeah, present the math. Otherwise, it's not real. $5. Thank you very much, Silent Zero. Much appreciated. And then there was one more somewhere. Where the heck did it go? Maybe it was at the beginning. If someone super chatted and I missed it, hit me up in the messages if you don't mind, and I'll read it. I apologize. I don't know why, but YouTube decides sometimes that it's not going to show the super chats to me. So I don't know why it does that. Anyway, thank you guys.
It says that's a high pressure.
Just Google
high pressure system.
Says something you guys have no idea what you're talking about.
That's what I just did. I just Googled it, and that's exactly what came up.
Yes,
that's exactly what came up.
If you take Google away from you, none of you guys would even match your answers. Not one answer would match the other person's. Rumpus would match
Try to counter what I'm saying, because I'm countering what you're saying.
You're not saying anything, Kosho.
I'm talking. No, you just had a problem with the storm on Jupiter.
Hold on.
Yeah, exactly. Googling the answer, and
all right.
And you have
hey,
no idea
slow
what
down.
you're talking about.
Hey, Crit,
point?
You got to let him respond. Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah, I'm countering the thing you said. You made the claim about the storm on Jupiter. I'm asking why it does that. I'm telling you why it does that, and you're just making fun of Google or something. But that's what Google says, and it makes sense.
So you're telling us the hurricane spin has nothing to do with Earth rotation, and it just has to do with high pressure, low pressure?
Hurricane spin has to do with Coriolis,
Shut up,
Jeremy.
Brenda. I was asking Kosho. He just said it wasn't because of Coriolis.
The hurricane.
No, I didn't say it wasn't. I didn't.
See, look at they debunk each other right there. You got two globalists saying the exact opposite shit.
Let me say my words correctly. So
you said it already, Coach, like 4 times.
Listen to me. I did not just say it was not caused by Coriolis.
He's about to correct, guys. He's gonna correct.
What I said was it's caused by a low pressure system, and because it's a low pressure system, it's allowed to allow Coriolis to dictate how it actually moves. That's the reason why storm drains don't. That's the reason why storm drains don't apply to Coriolis, because there's other things that get put in that are in effect. And the storm on Jupiter is a high pressure system, meaning storm drains or what do you call those? In the faucet, in the sink, in the bathtub, the drains, they don't follow Coriolis because they're dictated by the shape of the drain and a bunch of other things.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, yes. And the storm drain on, the storm on Jupiter is a high pressure system. So it's not a low pressure system like the one on Earth, where it's allowed to, be dictated by strictly Coriolis.
That was a lot of bullshit, man. That was a lot of bullshit.
You guys have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes,
I can look at the model and recite it back to you.
Okay.
You have no idea.
What is the model for Coriolis, Crit? What is the model?
Why you don't even know what you're talking about now? That
I'm
question is completely irrelevant.
I'm asking you a question. You said
the question has nothing to do with it.
The Coriolis model has nothing to do with Coriolis?
I'm not talking about the model. I'm saying if you guys want to say, the rotation of the planet, the object, the Earth, dictates which way storms turn, explain the storm on Jupiter. And you can't. So now you want to ask me a bunch of batshit questions that have nothing to do with it. Explain the storm on Jupiter.
Yeah, pretty
And
sure
all
Kosha
you
did. Pretty sure
Google
Kosha did, Crit.
All right.
You
So
don't
as
even know
usual,
what
they
you're
have
looking
a
at.
plausible sounding explanation. Big fucking deal. I find it interesting that they've got the alternate explanation that we provide for why the storms turn in a certain way, and they're applying it to
What's your explanation?
high and low pressure systems.
No, but why do hurricanes spin in one direction in the northern hemisphere and the other in the southern?
They don't. Jupiter.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about Earth, Crit.
Yeah, I'm talking about the same physics that apply here would be everywhere.
Yeah.
Repeatable, observable, measurable. You have to
It would be the
deny
same.
physics.
It would be the same physics.
You can't deny
Hold on,
physics and get away with
it'd be
it.
the same physics, but it would be different values. So you're talking about a greater pressure system. You're talking about
Yeah.
greater gravity. You're talking about different
Faster,
variables.
Stronger.
Right.
It
That's
spins the
exactly. Yeah.
exact
There's
opposite
a number of
direction.
things. There's a number of things that go into it, Crit. Right.
Yeah, if anything, the storm should follow the same direction, even faster.
But there's different
But it
conditions,
doesn't. It
though.
spins the opposite direction.
There's
Exactly.
Oh, I see. So
opposite.
Earth rotation isn't the only thing that determines the direction
just
storms
because
go.
Jupiter and Earth
I should
spin
be
the
back in
same
about a
doesn't
half
mean
an
they're going
hour
to have
or
the
so.
same conditions on that planet. You can't say
we're
that,
arguing
dude.
about this being a storm on Jupiter. Can anyone explain how we know it is a storm on Jupiter?
Hey,
No, I
wait,
was
hold on.
looking at those
We're
just
calling it a
experiment
hurricane.
to see how much it would swerve.
We're calling it a hurricane. Does anyone know that it is a hurricane?
No,
Well, you can
It's
look at
because
it and you can see
it's
what it is.
NASA's been probing. They've been getting into their probing missions.
Yeah, but
we've been observing
you can see what it is. It's a cyclone. That's what it is.
How do
yeah,
you know
have
that,
no
Brenda?
idea what you're looking at. And
How do you know
even
that?
more so, even if you pretend like you do,
Clouds
you don't.
traveling in a circle is a cyclone. That's what we
How do
see
you know?
on
How do you
Jupiter.
know that's what it is that you're looking at? You're assuming.
can see
You're
it.
assuming that's
You
what it
can
is,
see
but do you know that's what it is?
You can see the clouds moving in a cyclonic direction. Therefore, it's
How do you
a
know they're
cyclone.
clouds? How do you know they're clouds?
How do you know it's Jupiter? Do you know what your table
Exactly.
is? What is table?
Exactly. Thank you.
Sugar? What is anything? Anything could be anything. I don't know where I am. Nothing could be nothing. Everything.
See,
we know that.
you
We
take
know
it to
that,
the
Brenda.
ridiculous.
Don't worry.
Now you take it to the ridiculous because you need to.
You are.
Keep it in the real world you live in. Obviously, you know the desk is in front of you. You're looking at a picture of something with a swirl on it, and you're telling me it's a cyclone. I'm asking you, how do you know that?
How do you know there's a desk in front of you? How do you know?
By touching
need
it,
to go
moron.
here, don't you, Brenda? You need to go to a ridiculous point to try and back out of this discussion.
By touching
How
it.
do you know?
By touching it.
How do you know you're touching it?
Holy shit.
Simon,
We
don't
know
get
you.
into it, mate.
I know
Don't-
you
don't
have
buy
problems
into the
with that,
garbage.
Brenda, with reality.
Don't buy into it.
Let's not go there, please.
No, the problem is that you're just
You're
being a
looking at a picture with a swirl on it, and you're telling me it's the same thing as Katrina. You don't know what the hell it is.
That's your claim.
Correct. That is my claim.
So how do you know that we don't know what it is?
I don't.
So then why
But
do you
I'm
say
asking
we
you.
don't know?
I'm admitting
we
that
don't
I
know.
don't. Hang on. I'm admitting that I don't know how you know what it is. Now you tell me how you know what it is.
Because it meets the definition.
Well, the truth is there's not an exact knowledge of this type of stuff. It's something that's been observed for 400 years, and from observation, the safest way to describe it is exactly how we described. If it turns out that it's something totally different, that doesn't make us wrong for assuming that it was exactly what we said it was, because that's exactly what it is
Right.
observed to.
The definition.
Did tell us that definitions are meaningless?
So the definition of a storm are clouds moving in a cyclonic direction. So we see clouds moving in a cyclonic direction on Mars. I mean on Jupiter. Therefore, they are a storm.
Therefore, they are. Okay, cool.
Yes, it
What
meets
else
the
would it
definition.
be?
And that storm destroys the model. It just
No, it
completely
doesn't.
debunks it.
No, it doesn't.
What's your
spins the
analysis?
opposite direction.
What's your analysis?
You would have to
What's your
predict it
analysis that
spinning
it doesn't?
clockwise. Your prediction must be clockwise. It spins
Prove it.
counterclockwise.
Prove it.
You're done.
Show.
Right
prove
there.
it. Go ahead. No, go ahead and prove it. Prove it.
Not horseshit. You can't just say you're done.
So the problem is that none of you even know The first problem is that none of you even know what Coriolis is in the first place. You have no
Really?
clue.
Really?
That's a bold claim.
Right. So tell me, what is Coriolis?
No, you're not going to come in here and then claim that no one knows what Coriolis is and then play fucking Quizmaster. Fuck you.
But you
What's your
don't know
point?
what
Get
it
to your
is.
fucking
You
point
don't
if
know
you got
what it
something to
is.
say about Coriolis.
If you knew what it was, you
point
wouldn't
is-
ask. That's the
If
number one.
You have to walk before you can run.
Get your
So you
fucking
have to
point,
understand
Brenda.
the basics before you can theorize. You have to understand the basics before you can theorize about Jupiter.
Get to your point about Coriolis. That's it.
That's my point. That was my point. That was my point. You have to understand the basics before you can go on to something more complicated, like perhaps Jupiter.
Okay.
You don't understand the basics, and so you have no business theorizing about Jupiter.
Thanks for that valuable.
That's simple to
That's
understand.
a nah
Input.
if you ever heard one. That is the epic. That is
So
nah
what
level
is-
9,000.
So what is your understanding of the Coriolis force and how it works? What is your understanding of it? Maybe you're wrong about it.
Yeah, from reading the model, it says storms in the northern hemisphere spin counterclockwise. Storms in the southern hemisphere spin clockwise.
Why?
Then you look at Jupiter, you're like, what the heck is going on there? That
Yeah, but why
destroys
do
the claim.
But
There's
why
some
do
other
they
effect.
spin? But why do they spin?
See, look, you have no idea what you're talking about.
I
All you
I'm
are is
asking you a
questions. You're just
asking
empty
you a
questions.
question.
Yeah,
Yes.
you don't know. If you knew something, you're not going to ask.
I'm asking you.
Yeah, don't ask because you don't know and you won't even understand it if I told you.
Hold on. Are you
I
not
don't
aware of the
understand it.
Socratic method? She's asking
No,
you
there's no
to see
Socratic
if you
method
know.
going on.
She's
Her
asking
whole
you.
claim is that I don't
she-
know. No, listen.
Crit,
No,
Crit,
you're wrong.
The reason
Her
she
claim is
asks
I
you.
don't know, then ask me.
Yeah.
That
The
right there
reason she
destroys the
asks you.
Socratic method.
Crit is
If your
screaming.
first claim is I don't know something, then you
You're
ask me a
screaming,
question
Crit.
about it,
You're
that
spiraling,
destroys
Crit.
your claim.
Let someone speak before
Yeah,
screaming.
it
She's
destroys your
asking
claim,
you.
dude.
She's asking you so
Yeah,
that you
but
can
she said
show
already
you
they
know
made a claim.
something.
There's a
No,
claim
we're
on
not
the
playing
table.
that game. She's not going to come in here and set herself up as some kind of expert.
If he
Tell us we
wants
don't
to show-
understand and then quiz us. Fuck that. If she's got a point to make it.
If he wants to show that he understands it, then why can he not answer a simple question about it?
Because at this point, it's about the principle of the thing. If you're going to come in here and make a claim I don't know something, then ask me. That proves you are pushing bullshit. You have an agenda.
That
you think
doesn't
you're
prove
better than
anything.
other people. Screw you. You don't know what you're talking about.
That's nonsense, Chris.
So, Crit,
Is there a
the
topic we could
reason,
get on? This
the
seems like a
reason,
topic.
the
This seems like-
reason that
Worked up because they know that Jupiter breaks their claim.
the reason that hurricanes turn in a direction on the northern hemisphere is because of the Coriolis force. Because as the winds travel towards a low pressure system, right, they retain they conserve their momentum, and since the earth is rotating underneath them, and they are moving faster, then it veers to the right. Okay?
No, if the
Okay,
ground
next
was
story.
rotating underneath things, then flight times would be drastically different going from east to west.
That doesn't follow. That doesn't follow. I know that Oakley is your Papa Flurf, but that he is wrong about that.
Is the ground rotating
And people not even here.
You're
Just because you get bent over on that show doesn't mean you get to come here and act like a complete
I
asshole.
haven't been on there in at least 2
bent
years.
over. You
I
get
haven't
bent
been there
over every time you go there. They talk about
and-
gospel
well,
clock.
I would appreciate it if
Baseball
you
with
stop
donuts.
fantasizing about me then. Thank you.
Put you on there for good reason.
So the thing is that
Yeah, you
Oakley
guys
is
cannot
wrong.
handle it.
Oakley is wrong, right? The consequence of a Coriolis is not that jumping up in the air, you would travel 1,000 miles an hour in the other direction.
Whatever, shoot,
No one ever said that.
It's
We don't care
a
what Nathan
consequence.
says. He's not here.
He's wrong. You're wrong if you think that balloons going up in the air should be able to just hover and land.
No one ever
added
said
for
that. No one
continents.
thinks that. What would give you the
It's
impression that
not
anyone
true
here
that a
thinks that?
helicopter- Right. It's not true that a helicopter hovering above the Earth
You're going to give us
can
a
just
third
wait
example.
for
Okay, fuck
to,
you,
to
Brenda.
underneath to rotate
Fuck
underneath it. That is not Carol.
That's enough.
Yeah, see, now it's time just to
$10 super
filibuster.
chat. Earth is life. Observed for more than 300 years, the Great Red Spot rotates counterclockwise in Jupiter's southern hemisphere. Okay.
That's it. Game over. Done. That right there. That as soon as they say that, they're through. There is no rotation of the plant, quote unquote planet, causing the storm to do that.
You can't
Jupiter-
equate planet Earth to Jupiter. You can't equate that.
Yes, I can. It's in your model. It's your model I'm testing.
Crit, let's be honest, you're not testing shit. All you're doing is saying there's a discrepancy between Earth and Jupiter and the way that we understand Earth. Something else is happening on Jupiter, and all you're saying is, wow, that's weird, fuck the Earth model.
You
And
can't
then you're not
explain it.
investigating at all.
Yeah, you can't explain your own model. I actually have to look into it for you.
Yeah, Keisho already
regurgitate
explained
to
it.
you.
I
No,
know
I
you.
feel like-
I know you don't remember him explaining it, but he did explain it to you earlier.
Yeah,
I have to research your own model so you guys will actually pay attention to it. You spend all day worried about flat earthers and what flat earthers say, then get it wrong. Then come back here with a straw man when you don't even know your own model.
Dog,
You're the one who brought up Jupiter, Crit.
Dog, I'm trying to
No,
understand
storms.
why you believe that a flight would be shorter in one direction than in the other.
On Jupiter or Earth? Which one are we talking about?
Earth, dipshit. There's no fucking
Okay,
flights on
dipshit.
Jupiter.
Damn.
So like I'm there talking about storms, and he's like, "What about air flights?"
Somebody made
That
that,
is-
point. Who was
with
it
a-
that
yeah,
brought
okay,
that
bye,
up?
dipshit.
I think it was
That
Jeremy.
was what Jeremy brought up. Jeremy brought it up.
Yeah, Brenda just said the ground was rotating underneath something.
But I think space isn't fake because Jupiter exists, so we got that settled now.
No, you missed
ground's
it. Look
rotating
how
under the
stupid
wind,
they
right?
are. I'm regurgitating your model back to you, and you still don't get it.
You're using
I have to show you your shit.
You're using planet Jupiter as your argument, and you're denying space exists, the place that it actually is. That doesn't make sense. Crit.
Yeah, how? Okay,
He's not saying. Hold on. He's not. That doesn't mean that he is saying that he believes in that shit. He's using your own rhetoric to show you how stupid you guys are. That's what he's doing. You guys cannot see it. You guys are fucking
They
dense.
don't know their model. That's why they can't see it. They don't get it. They've tried to study the globe. They come back with like a D or an F. You know, they'll send me papers or textbooks. I'll be okay. Sure. Did you read this? How about if I give you a comprehension test in an open book or closed book? Which one you feel more comfortable with? They won't even be able to answer what the name of the book is or the author. All they
Have you
did
read
was
the expo?
Now you're just babbling.
Anyway,
Have you
so
read the explanation
I
of
noticed
why
that
the
somebody
storm
said that
is
we don't think space exists. I know you probably said that tongue in cheek because I don't know of a flat earther who thinks that there's nothing that we're looking at. We can obviously see things up in the sky, right? What we
Their
don't accept
description of
is your
space.
model of what space is. See, you guys always do this. You always fucking try to steelman us. You do the same thing with gravity. Flat earthers don't think gravity exists. No flat earther doesn't think things fall down. No flat earther
They cannot
denies the
steelman us,
observations
Brandon.
that we see. We deny the explanations that you provide.
Yeah, that's why we just ask you for your explanation as to why. And that's what we wait on all these
And
years.
then it always comes back to, okay, what have we experimentally determined? And then the answer from you guys is always, well, first we assumed the globe. Or this shit about predictions. We predicted it, therefore we're right.
Oh. When do we assume the globe when it comes to gravity?
Hey, we just predict mass attracting mass,
I
and
was
we
just
show that mass
generally
attracts
speaking.
mass.
Yeah, what makes things go down?
Okay.
What makes things go down?
What makes things go down? Well, give me an observation and I'll tell you what makes things go down.
When I drop this quarter, it go down.
All right. It is more dense than the medium that you dropped it into, therefore it
But
goes
the
down.
dense, it's less dense above. Why doesn't it go up?
That tells me you don't understand the fucking argument. People, you guys.
Yeah. Anyone who
Oh,
says that.
Yeah, they
man.
have no idea what their model is.
Why doesn't it
give
go
me a
up?
big.
Objects
That's the
orient
point.
themselves according to their density and their structure, their
But it's
cohesiveness
less
on the
dense
face of the
above you.
Earth.
The air above you is less dense. Why doesn't
Well,
it go up?
the coin is denser than your hand. Why doesn't it go through your hand to go to the denser ground below?
No,
That's even dumber than
no,
other
you're
guys
missing.
said.
You're missing the important question. Is ice less dense than liquid water, Brandon?
Is ice a
No,
it's a solid?
No, hold on.
It is.
Wait. Don't get into that. Why don't things go up when you drop it? It's
No,
less
Ice
no.
is
dense
less
above.
dense. Yeah, I think it is.
I know.
Isn't
Why
it?
is less? Yeah. So why? Yeah, ice is less dense than water. Correct. I may have misspoken. Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
it's less
why doesn't
dense,
it just
yeah.
completely float on the top of it?
Because it's less dense.
I'm sure we could look it up on what the reason is. What is your
No, what is
reason?
the reason not the globe model? Why do things not go up instead of down?
If things truly settle at like just because things separate out by their density and no other force acting upon them, then
What
why
are we
is it?
getting?
Then why is it that 2/3 of an iceberg is underwater?
Because that's where it's found its point of equilibrium.
It's less dense and still submerged.
No, but its point of equilibrium would be between the water and the air, right?
Some of it's above that.
Water's a liquid, right?
Yeah, water's a liquid, so why isn't the ice in
right.
between the liquid and the air? Or why isn't the ice in between the water and the air? Why is it under the water by a
Why
factor of
would
like
it be?
2/3?
Why
Some
would
of
it be?
it's above the water, some of it's below the water.
Yeah, why
What
is
are
it
we
below
getting?
the
Is this
water?
a barrage of retardation we're getting in here? What's going on?
I don't even know how to answer these stupid questions.
So if things separated out by their density solely without any other reason.
Nobody said solely without anything else. No one said that.
Okay,
And
cool.
what else
So,
is there?
yeah, what else is there? What am I missing in this equation? Because I know on my model what it would be.
Well, another factor that I mentioned was the what is it called? The hardness of the substance, right?
One's frozen solid, one's a different temperature.
Missing
a different temperature.
No, they're about the same temperature.
Yeah. It's not the same.
No, they're
two
roughly
different
the same
temperatures.
temperature.
I'll
They're roughly
repeat that again.
And even
They're two different temperatures.
okay.
So they have two different potentials. One's frozen solid, and the liquid surrounding it's not.
Okay.
So
What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? They're the same temperature.
It has everything to do with it.
It's got nothing to
It
do
has
with
everything to
temperature.
do
So
with
you
it.
put a piece of ice
The
on the top of
coldness
the
is
water.
changing the potential from the water. Now you have a resistor. The water is a different potential from the ice.
So if I get
Maybe,
if I
but
get a
in
whole,
general, that is not why an ice cube goes down into water. So an iceberg, let's say you put an iceberg and you set it on top of water somehow, on top of the ocean. All right, there's nothing to support it. It's surrounded by the medium of air on all sides but the bottom, right? So it's obviously going to push down to find its equilibrium, which it finds 3/4 of the way underneath the water.
by displacing the water, right? The whole displacing water.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
because we know that ice floats because it is 2/3 the density of water, meaning that it is going to take up.
Not the whole time, buddy. When it starts melting, at one point it's gonna be the same dense.
Okay, we're
as the
talking
water.
about when it's
It's gonna
frozen.
sink.
Am I talking about ice? Am I talking about ice
did?
right now? Yes,
You
I'm
did?
talking about ice. Cool.
Yes.
So why are you now turning that ice into liquid?
I didn't say it turns.
You say it's
I
gonna
say at
melt.
one point. No. At one point, that ice, the surrounded of that ice, which is less dense, right? The center. Are you telling me that you think the center of the ice is the same density as the exterior of the ice? Are you retarded?
Regardless, right? So we know that
It's not
ice-
regardless. It's not
Hey,
regardless.
are you gonna
That's
like
what-
interrupt? Hey, are you gonna interrupt
Is
with
not
nonsense
what
or you let
is
me finish?
why you say regardless then.
Again, so we know that ice is roughly.
He's just gonna ignore me, huh?
Yes,
All right,
I am.
whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
because you brought nothing. So like I was trying to say was,
Well, what is your
ice
point, dude?
It's not. It's
He
nothing
just
to
wants
do
to
with.
insult people. That's all.
Who
his
am I
point is.
insulting? I'm trying to finish my point.
Just get to the fucking point.
That's what I'm trying to do. Anyway, like I
Alright.
was trying to say was, it's not a matter of just things separating out. It's a matter of gravity and displacement. Or if you want to use gravity, then this downward force that we experience, shoving down the ice all the way up until it displaces the same amount of mass. And since it's less dense, even if you shove it completely under, it's not going to displace the same amount. So it's always going to experience that same force up, because it has to displace an equal amount of mass. That's why ice, being 2/3 the mass of water, will displace 2/3, or will have 2/3 of its body underwater, while the rest floats.
I just give him the answer. He ignored me.
You just kind of read in your model into what
Random.
you're describing, but all I'm doing is describing the observations that we have. That's it. We have the same observations, but you pull in this, you describe it from this point of view of bending space-time, or mass attracts mass.
No. Yes.
Yeah, you go there. That's the only difference.
Just describe why when you drop a rock, why does it go down?
No, so all I'm
Because
looking
it's
for
not
is
supported
what.
by the medium.
What all I'm asking for is what force is allowing things to separate out by their densities.
What do you mean, what force?
There has to be a directional influence, a force, right, for things to separate out in their
There is
densities.
a
That's why-
direction on the face of the Earth. Objects do order themselves according to their density and their hardness,
How?
right?
How?
What do you mean how?
I'm asking how.
Why
What
do they
force?
go down instead of float up? Why do more dense things go down instead of
Yes,
float up?
what is the
Yeah,
directional
God made
influence?
it. God made
I
it this
don't
way.
know.
Duh.
I don't know.
Ask the guy who made it.
Okay.
Go-
Here's a
when you
perfect
get-
example.
Hey, when you get a chance, ask
My
God.
question, my
Say,
question
why'd
would
you
be,
make it this way? Why
okay.
is natural law like this?
Okay, cool. Thank you, Crit. Very substantive.
Magic.
Like I was trying
Yeah,
to
it
say
is. You want to
when you
adjudicate
drop-
natural law and
when
ask
you-
me why?
when
Dude,
you
you
drop-
can't even figure out why you do what you do.
when you drop a density tower in free fall, the substances do not mix up. Therefore, density as itself, or a density variance itself, cannot act as its own force to separate things out.
They're
It is the
all
same-
falling.
it is-
They're all
it is-
falling.
Yes, very nice. They're all
Yes.
falling at
Why
the
would
same
they
rate.
separate when they're all falling?
Yeah, they wouldn't, because there's no force acting on it.
Because they're all falling. There is a force. They're falling.
No, they're
Yeah,
in
but
free
I'm-
fall. They're weightless.
Free
Their
fall.
density
Yeah.
still
They're
should
not.
separate each other out.
They're
Yeah,
not
they're
weightless.
still-
they're falling.
They're still falling. If you
Okay.
just remove the plane, they'll fall all the way to the ground. The plane
Okay.
is just like falling
Cool.
at the same rate.
What about them falling prevents them from separating out by their density?
They're negating the force of gravity.
Yes, I
No,
agree.
they're still in the same part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the real answer.
So if you just
Yeah.
remove the plane, is they're going to just stay right where they're at? They're free. They've got no gravity.
Okay, so
You guys are. This is how bad you are at your own
You don't
model.
even
no, this is how little
Wait,
you
Chris.
understand about it, right? In free fall, where
They're not zero gravity.
Okay.
They're still falling.
okay, yes,
The
they are
plane
falling.
is going to move so they don't hit the ground.
Holy shit!
You
Again,
don't
Yeah.
get that, do you?
in free fall,
It does,
they do not separate. When you put them in a centrifuge, they do separate. It's almost like increasing the force or decreasing a force on something changes up how quickly they separate, if at all.
So you think if you put something inside the plane and then the thing drops the same way the plane's dropping, that somehow that's now no gravity, no forces.
You are negating the effects of gravity.
So how do you? So if you remove the plane, what would happen?
not the thing itself.
Yeah, you're removing the effects
And
of
are
gravity.
you
is what I'm
really
trying to say.
negating
if you
the
remove
effect,
the
or
plane,
are
what
you
happens?
tracking the effect?
It just
Because
floats.
it doesn't stop falling. You aren't negating the effect. It's
Yeah,
still
the
falling.
masses.
You
No, you
just
get
have
that
something
part.
around it that's also falling, so it doesn't look like it's falling.
Again, you are in free fall.
So you're
Yeah.
falling. So you're not negating whatever it is
Okay.
that makes things go down. You're
Yeah,
still going down.
you
You're not
are.
negating it. That's an
Yes,
incorrect
you are.
statement.
Yes,
No, you're
you
not.
are.
If
You're
you're
still
falling
going
at the
down.
same rate,
You're
if
still
you're
going
falling
down.
at the same
You're
rate,
still going
if you're
down.
falling-
So
if
you're
you're
not
falling
negating
at the
it.
same
Negating
rate,
it would be
I'm not
removing
gonna
it.
let
That
me
would mean
talk.
you aren't
Can you
going
shut
down
up and let
anymore.
somebody respond?
You're not negating it.
Yeah, Bob. If it's falling at the same rate as the acceleration down, then it is negating the force. It's
So
neutralizing.
it's not falling anymore.
Yeah.
That's the claim, is that it's no longer
Yeah,
falling.
it is.
It is falling.
Then you're
at
not
the same
negating the
rate.
falling. You're
Again,
incorrect.
Again, why
Negating
is
it would be
You don't
removing
understand.
it.
You don't
It is not
understand.
removed. It's still falling.
The
okay?
globalists actually think that if you remove the plane from that equation, it would just stay right there forever.
No, that's not what we're saying.
Yeah, it is.
That's
No.
what the plane
You
would mean if
believe
you're
that you
negating the effect.
negated gravity with that airplane.
Holy shit, we are.
Ask them what would happen if you remove gravity.
If
Ask
you
them.
remove gravity, things won't separate out by their density.
The whole universe would fall apart. That's what would happen without gravity.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Things wouldn't separate out by their densities.
Your
If there
own
was-
model doesn't even cite gravity anymore. The standard model says it's not, gravity's not even included. They have no idea what it is, what it does.
What do you
we don't
mean?
use gravity anymore, right?
Yeah, we don't use little g in anything, right? Fucking nice going. We don't
Brandon
use
had the
little
best
g in
answer. I asked him
anything.
why things don't go up, and he said, "I don't know."
So again, Crit, you have again in free fall they don't separate. In a centrifuge, they separate very quickly. It's almost like having a different force
And
vector.
free fall. Hold on.
Almost
hold
like
on.
two different
Hold on.
types of motion.
How long?
cause two
Hold
different
on.
effects.
It's almost.
Let me
Hey,
ask
am
him
I
a
done?
question.
Hey, am I done yet? No, I
Let
don't
me
think
ask
so.
you a
So,
question.
quiet, I'm not
How
done
long
yet.
is the free fall, buddy? And is this free fall stable?
It goes on for
Depends on how high you're dropping from.
Yeah.
For how long?
Less than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, less than 30. So you expect somebody to agitate liquids and then to arrange themselves in less than 30 seconds?
Yeah, they'd already did
Yeah,
it on that,
I know you do.
video. If on that video, they shake it up
You
before they
guys
go
are
into free
such fucking stupid
It's
people.
almost like two different kinds of
Yeah,
motion
hold
cause
on,
two different
hold on.
effects. Weird,
No,
right?
no,
Except not at
You're
all.
calling us stupid when you guys
Not
are
weird
the
at
ones
all.
that
No,
are
so hold on.
denying all of known physics.
Yeah, so hold on.
As if
So-
all of known physics is
All
incorrect.
the science proof things?
Physics doesn't know what
that what you're
gravity
saying?
is, B-ball. They say that
It
all the
doesn't matter
time.
what
We're
gravity-
going to
it
have to
doesn't matter
rethink the
what
model. We
gravity
don't know what
is.
gravity is.
We see its
You
effects.
know what it does.
doesn't matter what it is.
That's all we're saying
know
is
what
we
it does.
see the effects. We agree with the effects. We're not just swallowing your bending space-time bullshit. That's all.
Well,
Know what
regardless,
it is.
we know what it.
Know
We
how it
know
works.
what it does.
Yeah.
It's not
so-
density is not a force.
Yeah, so when you change the force vector on something, right, whether you put it in a centrifuge or you allow it to be in free fall, it's almost like when you have it in free fall, it doesn't mix up because there's no force vector on it. And if you put
Density
it in
is not a force.
And if you put it, yeah, you're right. I agree. Density is not a force.
Yeah, but it
Right.
can generate
And then when you
forces,
put-
yes.
No. Density
Yes.
itself doesn't generate any force.
It
But
can
like I was-
generate a force.
Okay, cool. So when the thing is in free fall, density
Let-
itself.
do you want me
should be
to set a-
Density itself should be separating those liquids out. I agree.
Do you want me to set a brick of steel
would it do that?
on top of you so
Yes.
that you can feel the force that is generating, idiot?
If density is its own force, then
No.
things would separate amongst each other in that.
Who's saying
sealed
density is its
power.
own force? Who said
This
that?
idiot.
I'm not
Celestio,
saying density.
you
I'm
just
You
saying,
didn't say that.
was its own
bro, I
Wait,
said
wait.
density
Because you guys are
can
saying that
generate
density
a
is the
force.
reason why things fall because they're more dense.
So if density can create its own force, then why don't
Generate!
these liquid-
Generate! You don't
Yes.
know what the difference of the words mean? English is my
Generate,
second
create,
language, bro, and I even know the difference
So
between
if density
create
can-
and
Now we're gonna
generate.
argue about the
It-
difference between generate and create.
Holy shit.
Really?
If density can generate its own force, then why don't the
Oh
liquids separate
my
out in free
God.
fall?
Are you going to
Not
answer the
its
question
own
20
force.
times? You keep asking this over and over. It's all
And-
falling. Everything's falling. It's falling at the
What
same
about
rate.
it? What about it falling has anything to do with that sealed closed system not creating its own force within
it's
itself to
all-
separate things out by its liquid?
Why would it do that? When things fall, they all fall at the same rate, depending on the medium, right?
Okay, so things are constant within that container.
They're all falling. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, they're all constant within that container. So why aren't the things separating out by their different densities?
Because they're
I
all
agree.
falling.
What about them falling has to do with anything in your
They all
solution?
fall at the same rate.
Yeah.
How are they going to separate
Yeah.
if they all fall at the same rate?
Because again, if density was creating its own fucking force, then their different densities.
No one
their
said
different
density was
densities.
creating its own force. We
This
said it
guy.
was the
Generating-
cause of things
generating-
falling.
Generating,
guys, if you're on the
creating,
ground,
same
you
thing.
can move sideways.
Good.
If
So
you're
density-
falling
density's
at
not
100
a
miles an
force.
hour, why aren't you moving sideways?
Awesome.
This
So
is
density is not a
hilarious.
force.
Yeah. So yeah, I
Whoever
agree.
said density was a fucking force?
Oh, we heard some idiot say that density generates its own force.
I didn't
That's
say
not the
it.
same as saying it is a
Hold
force.
on.
Allow
I
him
didn't
to
say.
explain.
Hold on.
Go
Allow
ahead.
me.
Silent Zero,
Allow me
explain
to
what you meant
clarify.
by that.
Yeah. I didn't say generate its own force. I
Yeah, you
say density generates a force, not its own force. If you set a brick of steel on top of you, you're gonna feel the force that brick is generating. Okay?
Because of gravity.
No, because that's your belief.
Well, that's
I
a
don't
claim
believe
you
that
can
shit.
make, but that doesn't really have anything to do with what he's explaining right now. You can claim it is whatever you want. His point stands.
Who are you talking to?
Whoever just said because of gravity, you can make that claim, but that claim doesn't change the point that was just made about the brick. The
Exactly,
point
that's what I'm
stands.
saying.
So we see that when we take the force vector out of the equation, things don't mix up. When we add a force vector, aka putting in a centrifuge, they separate out really quickly. Interesting how that works.
So different types of motion cause different types of effects. Congratulations.
Just the adding of a force and the taking away of a
Different
force.
types
Or
of
a force
motion
vector,
have
I
different
should
types
say.
of effects. Congratulations.
No, again,
That's
the
what you
adding
have.
or removing
That
of
is
a force
the
vector.
reasonable, intelligent,
The
logical
adding-
conclusion one would come to
No.
after doing both of those experiments is that different types of motion have different results.
No, it is
That's the
the
intelligent
adding, it is
conclusion
the
to come
adding
to.
or removing of a force vector.
Listen.
Is what
Different
causes
types of motion have different effects. That's
No,
the
it is-
intelligent, logical conclusion.
the intelligent logical conclusion is the force vector being added or
That's
removed.
retardation.
No,
the
that's
intelligent, logical conclusion is that different types of motion have different
What
effects.
happens to magnets when they have the same potential? They want to flow from each other. So the ice cube and the water, they're the same fucking material. They have the same potential, but then they also have a little bit of resistance from each other too. So you have like the one that's like buoyant and the other. It's the same potential, but they're still separated because one's super fucking cold and frozen and it's solid, and the other one's still a liquid. But they're still the same material, so they have the same potential.
What? It has to do with their. Never mind.
So anyway, you know what this all comes down to? This is a
Mm.
kind of a semantics argument, and it depends on the viewpoint that you're coming from. You're coming from the viewpoint that you know what gravity is. It's this force that's caused by space-time bending and drawing everything to the center of the Earth.
Yeah, so
Here's my
It's
perspective that
electrical.
I'm coming from. I see these effects. I can describe what the cause of the effects is, and I don't need anything more to describe any observation that you put in front of me.
You're not giving an explanation as to what causes it. You're just giving the explanation of what happens.
Exactly.
said-
Yeah, now you get it.
So that's
Now you
not
get
a
it.
cause. That you're just saying things fall down. I want to know.
No, wrong. It is a cause. If I put something more dense than air and I drop it in air, it will fall down, and that is due to its density. If it was the same density as the
Why
air,
doesn't
it
it fall
wouldn't
up?
fall down,
Why
correct?
doesn't it But if you blow up a balloon with air and you let it go, it can ride along the air just like the ice cube, even though you have a solid plastic fucking barrier around it. It's potential, man. It's the same stuff can ride in the same stuff, even though you have a little bit of solidity there. You get it? It's potential. It's not just density itself. Because, okay, you can have one apple that's dense as all 70 fucking 100 apples. They're all dense as an apple. It doesn't matter. Now you have a potential of more apple because there's more there of the same density. So it's both. It's potential and density because it's like a magnet. A magnet repels and attracts depending on the fucking potential the magnet has, positive or negative. Sorry, go ahead.
Why?
It's all electrical, man. I don't know what saying the word what helps you guys with, but it's all electrical, and I'm sorry to tell you that. Positive, negative, high to low, hot to cold.
You have a rock. You drop it. Everybody agrees it's less dense above. Why doesn't it go up?
Yes, we're asking
Because
for the
everything
force vector.
orders itself according to its density and hardness on
There's
the
less
surface of the
density
Earth.
above.
If that's the case,
air's
then
less
things,
dense above
things
you.
that were
Why
more
doesn't it
dense.
go up?
On the surface of the Earth.
Right. Why doesn't it go up? Why doesn't it go up?
Because you observe
Because
the denser
rock is
things
more
on the
dense
ground
than
level,
all
right?
of the air, no matter where it's located. Whether you go up or down doesn't matter. The rock is more dense than the air anywhere that you pick air. Anywhere.
So we're
So it's going to go down. No matter what air it's at, it's going to go down.
We're
Why doesn't
asking.
Let me answer him.
We're asking for the directional influence. What is the force giving it its directional influence?
There's no force.
You have
I know
no
you really
way to
want to
prove that
know
there's
it,
an
and this
influence
is
whatsoever.
part of the problem.
All we can do is observe
have
it.
to have an explanation. You can't
Yes.
stand not having an explanation. So
You're
hold
right.
on to your explanation. We're not willing to swallow the explanation that you guys have because it's fucking ludicrous.
Okay, so I'll just casually wait for you to come up with an explanation rather than
You
just
don't
saying,
need
"Oh,
to.
that's
We can already
Everyone else
describe
disagrees with
all
me.
the effects that we see. We can use it the same fucking calculations. Everything
No,
is
you
the
can't.
same except for this
Because
reason
density
that
is not a
doesn't
force.
impact
The
anything
only
that you've decided
people
to
that need
embrace.
your explanation are the ones who want to go into pretend land.
Gravity, but nuh-uh.
No, however you want to refer to it, dude. If you
Retarded
want to believe
ideas
in
should
bendy
be
space
dismissed.
time,
Nuh-uh.
feel
Yes.
free.
Yes, I believe in the gravity, but nuh-uh. That's a good
Get a
explanation.
better explanation. Get a better explanation. That's all people
Well,
are
maybe
looking
not.
for.
Yeah, hey, Chief, this 9.8 meters per second thing, is that a constant or an average?
That is a constant, I believe, right?
Yeah, you guys do not know your own model. It is just
pinches.
breathtaking how bad you are at
Okay, so
science.
show me otherwise, my friend.
I don't need to show you shit. This is stuff you learned in junior high that you just brain started
How
because you
about
do
the
like
idea
flat
that the
earthers.
plastic balloon
you guys-
and the
so-
material you put in the balloon makes the balloon denser than the medium around it, and it's still floating up. When you put helium in a plastic container or a steel container or another container, when you have enough, it's going to go up. So it doesn't matter the density of the eye. It's not the density.
The science of science, 499. Gravity is nothing more than the observation of up and down. The cause of this is unknown. Yeah, that's the viewpoint I'm coming from too. Well said. Thank you, the science of science. Bendy space-time leads you to things like time dilation and length contraction and just fucking ridiculous shit.
Hey, what's that balloon? Less or more dense than the air?
The balloon is more dense.
Okay, then fuck density. Didn't help
Oh, yeah.
you.
No,
it didn't
again.
bring it down, did it?
Holy
did
shit.
it make the balloon come back down?
The average volume of that balloon.
Listen, it's
Hey, are you gonna shut up and
electricity. It's
there's nothing
pretty simple.
Dude, you
Stop
don't
getting
know what
around
you're talking
electricity.
about.
Yes.
Stop going past
prove it in real
electricity,
time.
goddammit.
Yeah, so
You don't
again,
know what you're talking about. You're embarrassing yourself, dude.
I don't
They
think
are.
so. dude.
You embarrass me
I'm
100
listening.
fucking
I'm
percent.
listening.
It's
I'm listening.
electricity. Stop
It
being a
has
fucking
nothing
retard.
to do with electricity.
That's all it has to do with ever, you fucking idiot. That's the
All right,
whole
you're
fucking
saying it's
idea of everything.
you're saying it's
High to
electromagnetic.
low, high to cold. Prove me wrong, motherfucker.
I'm asking you.
Positive and negative. What do they do? Negative
Yeah,
and negative.
Demok.
What do they do?
Demok,
Positive and positive. What do
here's
they
an
do?
easy
Oh, this
experiment.
is Demok.
Demok, what is your evidence for
You
it
gotta
being
chill out. It's a show, bro.
electrical? What's your
Demok.
evidence for this electrical model that you're
Magnets.
Hey,
What
Demok.
does fucking magnets do when you try to put one next to another with the same potential?
They flip around and they pull each other towards each
It
other.
repels, motherfucker.
No, yeah. So
Yep.
yeah, they flip around and they pull towards each other.
Yeah, but just so, what does that have to do with it? I mean, what is the model that you're proposing, Dima?
It's electricity, son. Magnetism, electromagnetism of any sort.
Okay, cool. Hey, Demok, you're gonna bring up
Well, hold on a minute.
electromagnetism.
I just asked him what the model he was proposing, and then you cut him off because you don't want to hear it.
It's all
Whatever.
static. It's
Go
all
ahead, Dima.
magnetism. It's all electricity. You can call the air ether. You can call water ether. Have fun. There you go. It's all energy. It's all electricity. It's all potential or resistance. There you go. High to low, hot to cold. Positive, negative, you know.
Okay, so Demok, explain to me why
It's
a third
all
of the.
potential. Listen, I just did. That's everything.
I'm
High
trying
low,
to. I'm
hot
trying
cold.
to. Can
Positive,
you let
negative.
anybody else talk, or are you just gonna keep like doing that? Thank you.
Well, just
So,
disprove my claim is all you got to do.
I'm about to if you
I
shut
will
your
when
mouth for like
I will
2
when
seconds.
this autard is done.
Yeah. So again, if you're gonna bring up electromagnetics, please explain to me why silver behaves just the same as iron when we drop them. Silver is repelled by electromagnetic forces, just FYI. So if you're going to say that iron is pulled down because of electromagnetic forces, then why doesn't silver go up? I'll wait for your answer.
Yeah, it should actually fall slower if it's
The
repelled.
silver conducts electricity. Yeah.
Yeah, lead is the.
Iron's got
lead.
shit for potential, so it's not gonna rise too good. Retard.
Yeah, it's.
Unless you put a lot of potential into it and glow it red hot, and then surround it by something super cold like liquid nitrogen, then maybe it'll fucking flow for you.
What?
Stupid.
No,
Then you
so you're
got
saying-
that has to do with temperature.
You're saying that things
and
go down.
electricity.
You're saying that things go down because of electromagnets, right? You might have an argument for things like
Yeah,
iron.
yes.
Things like silver are repelled by electromagnetic field, so they should go up.
No, I don't think you know anything of what you're speaking of.
I
so
just I
once
think
you
quite
listen,
the opposite.
listen,
I don't
all
think you know anything.
all you can do is look at reality, record reality, then explain reality. That's all you have to do. You don't have to fucking guess. You don't have to be goofy. None of that. You just look at reality, see what happens with the helium, see what happens with the balloon, see what happens with heat rising, not the oxygen, not the fucking air. It's heat. See what potential does, and just add them up.
Hey, I have a question.
See what you can do with them.
Is helium less dense than a nitrogen?
I
Same
don't
standard
know.
temperature and pressure?
Helium is basically just gas energy. What the fuck? I mean,
no, helium is its own gas.
helium has a certain potential that's not like the other ones. That's why it does different than most other ones.
You're right. It has a different
potential, motherfucker.
It has a what was it not a
It's got a different potential.
Different thermal constant.
They're causing a different resistance because of its potential.
Yeah, the potential kinetic
It's all
energy.
resistance and potential, man. I don't know how else to explain. I don't care what your little fucking Cody's lab or whatever the doctor told you down the road. I don't care about that.
Is
Fuck
helium
what you saw on
less dense
TV.
than
It's wrong.
nitrogen? Is helium less dense
That's
than
why
nitrogen?
we're here today. That's why we're rethinking the bullshit, the 1,000-year-old dog shit that's wrong. You got to rethink it. Stop adding the dog shit to reality. That's where you're having a problem.
Gemma,
you guys keep trying to ask why unicorn fights are happening and then conflicting it with reality the same way with the globe. It's not going to work. Fuck gravity. Erase the dog shit. It's nothing to do with gravity. It's all electrical. That's what we know. That's what we have. That's what it all is.
Okay, okay.
It all works on temperature. How does the sun work?
Mark, you should write physics textbooks, man.
Yeah.
You know all this stuff. Just throw all the physics out and we'll just go.
Would you read it? Because you don't read now. Never read a book in your life.
I haven't read
Anyway.
a book in my life. Right. Okay.
Yeah, talking about you guys don't even know your own model. Like page one.
So my model says that at different points throughout the globe, you have slightly different gravitational pulls, right?
You
Overall,
don't even, hold on, Crick. You don't even know your model.
yeah,
Please,
yeah. So hold on.
Really?
So hold on.
We're the same boat then. That's fine.
9.8.
I'm okay with that.
Also, 9.8 is the constant that we use in G, right? At different points throughout the globe, you have slightly different pulls because of different densities within, like underneath the Earth's crust. So you kind of have. Yeah, it's still referred to.
You have no idea what you're talking about.
I do know exactly what I'm talking about.
You have no idea.
And then the further
write your own book then.
And then the further away you get, because of the inverse square law, of course, that 9.8 is going to drop.
And Kriya, the book has already been written. Thank you.
Go read it.
Oh, I already have, dog.
No, you didn't. You didn't even know it was an average. You started swinging the constant.
No, it is a constant that we use.
Then you invoke this inverse square law. What happens if I dig down all the way to the center? What would happen there?
That's a good question.
Hypothetical center. What would I be weightless now?
That's a good question.
See, look at you guys don't even know your own model and what it would say.
We don't have to know everything. See, the thing is, we don't have to know everything.
You don't know. You know nothing.
You don't know
shit.
You don't even know your model.
You don't know yours either.
You can't tell me.
You can't tell me the first thing.
Answer me this, Crit. What happens when we get to the
Same with the
center?
double slit experiment.
There's no center.
What?
To begin
Certain
with,
things
it's a
cancel
paradox.
itself out.
No,
Forms
so
of light
hold on.
cancel itself out.
Hold on. So
The
what happens at
paradox
its
proves
center?
it's not possible.
What happens at its center, dog?
Yeah, that would be a paradox.
How
Once
would
you
it be
get
a
to the
paradox?
center, it would be a paradox.
What happens? What do you mean it's a paradox?
Because you would have to say you would be weightless at the center. all directions would be up and down,
Okay.
all around. You put your left foot in, you put your left foot out. That's a paradox.
Well, guess
It
what?
doesn't
If we
work.
did that, that'd be good to know. We'd find out. Is it
You
it
can't
wrong
even
that
predict
is
what
it
would
wrong
happen.
that we don't know?
Just like
is it
if
wrong
you,
that
if
we
you
don't
dig
know?
down underground, your own model should say you would get heavier and heavier as you get closer
Your own
and closer.
model. Your own model. What's your model, Crit?
We don't know.
So,
We don't know.
Yeah, you don't even
I
know
don't
your
have
own
a
model.
model. I don't have a model.
Yeah, you guys don't even know it.
We-
You can.
yeah, we-
you should be able to
Crit,
regurgitate
Crit,
something.
We don't have to know everything about
You know
the model.
nothing. You know 0%.
Well, how come you act like you do? No, who acts like they know everything? We can research things.
actually, no.
The
So
problem
you
is
would
when
actually,
we research things. You guys claim it's wrong anyway.
yeah. So
But you
hold
guys
on.
can't.
So go
Yeah,
with life.
so hold on. So the closer you get to the center, the less you weigh, because again, it is judged by the ripple effect from the entirety of the globe, right? The more you get towards the center, now you have more mass on the other side of you pulling you in the other direction. So no, you don't weigh more the further you get towards the center, all the way up until you hit this magical paradoxical zone where you just suddenly weigh less. You progressively weigh less the further towards the center you go. So thank you,
just go-
Crit. You just show that you don't actually know our fucking
Yeah.
model.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's an
Thank
amazing
you.
monkey clip.
Thank you.
So where's the point where you're heaviest? If you dug a hole right straight to the center of your ball.
The point where you are the heaviest is right on the surface. At least that's where I would
How
project.
could that possibly be?
Because you have
On the
the most
surface
mass
of a
on one single
sphere,
side.
you've got the entire sphere
You have
offset
the
from
most
you.
mass.
If you dig
Yeah, you
down
have the
into
most-
it, then you're surrounded on all sides by the sphere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
If you're surrounded
Yes.
on all sides equally, it'll have a net force of 0. So you want all of it on one side to
That's
be
what
a
I'm trying to
maximum.
say.
Okay.
Thank you, Crit. You just showed that you don't actually know our model, so you're
So
being a
objects
hypocrite.
are heaviest on the surface of the Earth.
Yeah, keep crying. You have
Okay.
no
If I
idea.
get in the mine shaft, will I be lighter? As I get in the mine shaft, will I get lighter and lighter and lighter?
Ever
what
so
they're
slightly,
saying.
yes.
I don't know if you could discern it. I'm not sure. I would suspect not, but
That's convenient, isn't it?
There's
so-
no way to demonstrate
And what's
imaginary.
going on 1,000 miles under the surface of the Earth? What's going on down there?
well,
See,
in-
they
in-
never even considered their
Yeah, hold
own
on.
model.
There-
The
there's-
whole thinking
hold on.
process is not flat.
I know, beautiful. So I'm trying to explain it.
Not
So
flat. That's all you think. It's not
So
flat.
you can-
You have
can-
no idea beyond that.
holy
That's
shit,
it.
man.
You went not
Goddamn.
flat. Period. And you stop thinking.
All right,
You let
perfect.
other people think for you.
right.
No, so hold on. I just
No, go ahead.
Chief,
BioDuel was
you talked for
BioDuel
20
was talking. Go ahead,
my
BioDuel.
mistake. I'll let
Chief, you talk
Bio
20
go.
hours a day. Relax. So yeah, we can measure particular things such as at altitude, a 500 gram mass is going to weigh less or more depending on where you are as far as altitude. There's no reason to think that when you go into depth of the Earth that it would change for some reason. You'd still have that effect.
But we can only get 8 miles down, so
Yeah.
we can't
It's just a shame that we have a liquid mantle.
Is that why they
A
couldn't
what?
go down more than 8 miles? Because there was a liquid mantle?
Yeah, it gets really hot down there. Really gums up the machines in granite.
I think
not molten granite, but like when you heat metal up like a lot and it gets really malleable.
it's gooey.
Yeah, it gets gooey and it gums up all your I forget what it's called, but like
You
the
guys do
gears that-
not know your model. Just type in
Obviously
Earth's
we do.
mantle.
Shut up,
It's
Crit.
solid
Goddamn.
rock.
No, it's
Earth's
not.
mantle. That's what they say the continental drift is on. These tectonic plates.
No, the crust is solid
Yeah.
rock that floats on
Just
top
Google
of the mantle.
this shit. You guys,
Holy
you make it
shit.
seem like holy crap. Like,
No,
the mantle's liquid now.
We have always said the mantle is liquid.
No,
God dang.
you need to look that up.
I'm looking at it right now, dog.
You need to look it up, Crit.
Yeah, you're saying that we don't know our own model. Obviously, you
don't.
know you don't even know
You
this
don't even
model.
know the first thing. I bet you wouldn't be able to tell me what size this Earth is. Like, what's the radius?
The radius is about like almost 4,000 miles. It's like 39 something.
Brandon, that 8
Just
mile,
guessing. Just
that
throwing
eight
shit against
mile-
the wall.
that 8 mile deep,
39.58, I think.
That 8 mile deep hole, they stopped because I guess they weren't expecting the high temperatures at that depth, and they couldn't go any further.
Well, no, the reason why they stopped was because they predicted that it was not brimstone. I think it was either brimstone or another material that was. But what they hit was not molten, but really gooey or malleable hot granite, which showed up the same on the radar as the other material that they predicted. And so when they
I fucking hate autards so goddamn much. So I posted the thing.
Yeah, that's what
Dude,
I'm reading
you
here
are
too. That it was like
alt-hearted
it behaved
on your
like
own
plastic.
by your own people. How can you hate something you are? That's a self-hatred, dude. Self-hating.
If it was a different material, they could still go through the material. The biggest concern was the temperature.
No, hold
They
on,
weren't
hold on. Let's go back to this comment. Why are you a self-hating altard?
Because autards don't know how to stop.
Yeah, that's what you've been deemed by your side as
know.
autistic
Crit,
retard.
you thought
Wait,
that in our
wait,
model we said that the
shut up.
mantle was solid, okay? So like
No, you
I
said it
don't-
was liquid. You didn't even know your model.
No, hold on. So I'll make a friendly wager with you here. How about
No,
that?
you can't. There's no way I would take a bet with you. A gambling debt's a debt of honor. You've already proved you've got no honor. None.
So I said that the
There's
mantle
no way I
was
would enter
liquid.
a bet with you. Even if I was right, I knew you would never pay.
I said that the liquid the mantle
Who
was
cares what you say? You're wrong about everything.
Oh, so I said that the mantle was liquid. You're trying to say it's solid, and then you bring up the tectonic plates as if that's part of the mantle.
Yeah, you have no idea what you're talking about.
I think I do in this instance.
No, zero about anything ever.
Okay. So in
You'd be
our
the
model,
dumbest person any room you walk into.
in our model, what layer does the tectonic plates belong to?
So now that's asking me questions again. See, you don't even know it at all.
Correct.
You don't know what
So-
basis is. You say
so-
the wrong size.
No,
You
so
think you just like know
I didn't
things
say
you
the
don't
wrong.
know.
I didn't say the wrong
So
size.
anyway,
I'm,
I'm sitting here thinking, who cares what your model says is going on down there? You guys
They
dug
don't
8
know it.
miles down and you were completely wrong about the temperature and the material consistency. So what does it matter after that? I mean, you guys don't know what's down there, really.
To a certain extent, but that was also 30 years ago. And it would be fair to say, no matter what your position is, that the technology within 30 years has progressed exponentially.
Has it? What
Except
advancements have
in
they
space
made that
travel.
make them more certain
Getting to
that
the
they
moon.
can know what to expect when they go deeper?
Well, that's just part of science, where they went further. They went further than ever. They went further than ever before, and they found a part that they expected something, but it was something else. That's fine. That's science. They pushed the envelope and they learned from it. That's all that was.
Well, I'm fine with that part. It's just when you get me to ask me to, consider that what's down 100 miles or 1,000 miles, then I kind of look at this and I go, probably not.
Well, I found the perfect video for
But
Crit
anyway,
here.
I don't want to argue
No,
about
you didn't
this.
find anything
Doesn't
from me.
matter.
There's nothing you'll ever be able to present to me that I'll even accept as anything. You are that stupid that you don't even understand simple parts of your own model.
Like?
I don't want nothing from you. You
Like?
understand? Listen to the words come out of
What
my mouth.
don't I understand that?
I don't want nothing from you at all, at any
What-
time.
Okay, what
Whatever
don't
you think you're doing, factor me out because it's stupid.
what
I don't
simple
want to
thing-
partake in stupidity.
what simple thing do I not understand about my model?
Stop
don't even know
feeding
what
him,
size it is.
please.
All right, I'll stop engaging with them.
You won't
Obviously,
even watch your own video and figure it out.
I
How about this? You want to do a quiz on it and see how much content you actually absorbed? You'll probably get what, 10%, maybe? You did not even absorb a video you sent.
All right, so tell us about your model then.
Yeah, I've talked about my model many times.
Okay, tell us about it then.
No, I don't need to. If you didn't understand it the first
Why
time,
not? Do you know about your model?
yeah, I've got a model. I've explained it many times. Time-stamped, video recorded. If you
Okay, so-
haven't got
okay, so
anything
give me a
of it,
rundown. Give me a
Yeah.
rundown of your model.
no,
Give
if
me-
you
give
didn't
us a
understand it the
rundown.
first time, why should I teach you
I
again?
never seen it. I've
You
never
are
seen it.
unteachable.
So tell me.
Yeah, you can go check. It's on Gem Panda. It's
All right,
posted
so
multiple
tell me.
times.
No, I don't.
I call it the Petri
I want you
dish.
to explain it to me.
No, if I've explained it already, you don't get it. Why explain it again? Give me a reason.
It should be pretty quick, right? Well,
No,
give me
it's not
one
quick.
part.
It's very complex and depth.
Give me the distance to the moon.
There you go. See, now I know not to.
distance to the
There's
moon.
no
What
moon.
is
I
people
didn't make a claim
talking?
to a moon.
Here to tell you your bedtime stories, dude.
Give me the distance to.
See, this is why you know they don't pay attention to anything people say. Even people on their own side, they deny, they ignore. They have no idea what they're talking about. When you give them stuff, they ignore that too.
Maybe people just let you talk too much.
Go watch your video for children and
Yeah.
figure out your own model.
I already know my own model. You
No,
said
you
that the
don't.
mantle.
You know
said the
nothing
mantle,
about it.
You said the mantle was solid. This video says otherwise.
That video's for you, not for me.
Obviously, it's for you because you
No,
thought the
it's for
mantle
you.
was solid.
That video's for you.
This video's for
Go
you
watch
because
the
you
video.
thought that in our model the mantle was solid.
Yeah, go watch the video.
I don't have to. I've already seen it.
No, you ready for a comprehension test?
Cool. Set one up for me.
All right. So
Anyway.
did Crick present his model yet?
What did I just
No.
tell your dumbass?
Okay.
Why am I not going to ever present my model to you?
Because you don't have one.
Because
It doesn't
I
work.
don't even have one. Look how breathtaking this is. A model I've presented multiple times to multiple different people.
Okay, yeah,
No,
this
it
is all-
doesn't even exist.
I've never seen it.
Who
Yeah,
gives
I've
a
never
fuck what you think or see?
So tell us about your model.
I just okay. Why am I not doing that?
Because you know it doesn't work.
I told you where to find it.
Oh, well, let me guess. Okay, let me guess.
Am I
there's no.
supposed to-
But you just
no
want to
servers
guess.
here.
You're just going to
Am I
randomly
am I
guess.
am I
Where's his
supposed to look?
model?
Am
Hold
I
on,
supposed to look up on Google like Crit's
Yeah.
Crit's model or
No,
what?
I told you where to find it. I
No, you
did a full presentation with Veach on Gem Panda server.
Jim Panda.
Yeah, it's all posted
live?
there.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I am interested in hearing Crit's thoughts. I don't know if you guys are able to jump out of like the ego battle mode, and we can actually just maybe hear what Crit. Do you want to share it with us?
Yeah, I mean, you probably search in here too. If at this point if someone has legitimate
It could be
questions,
readily available.
look, you can't let me talk. You're just interrupting right away.
Well, I'm
Now
open to
you know
hearing
why
hearing
I
it, Crit.
care. You're
I'm
not
open to
willing
hearing it.
learn. You
I'm
won't
open to
even
hearing
learn
it,
your
but
own
instead of
model.
hold on,
Don't
I'm
worry
open to
about
hearing
them,
it,
Crit.
but
Just ignore them. Gio's right.
yeah, instead of having to prove it to them or whatever, why don't you just share it with us?
¿Qué tiene, cabrón?
What the
Sound
fuck?
Zero, I think your mic's hot.
I think he's playing League of Legends or something.
Having a battle.
So we're all waiting, Crit.
Yeah, you can wait. I don't care. Wait until you turn old and gray, and I still won't care.
All right, so why are you even in this conversation, dog?
Yeah, you don't know your model either.
To answer to you,
I know my model.
You guys do the same shit. Why are you in this conversation?
He can tell you your model, and you wouldn't even understand it.
Yeah.
Let's go back to gravity for a minute. I do have a question.
What's up?
What utility does it have for you to think that gravity is caused by bending space-time?
What utility do we have?
Yeah.
I believe it was a for an explanation as to why light seems to bend around objects that otherwise have no atmosphere.
Now they could use it to predict orbits.
Yeah.
Use
And it also explains
the idea of bending space-time to predict orbits?
And also it also explains atomic clocks and the such, and how when you get two synchronized and you send one into space traveling at 17,000 some odd miles an hour and you bring it back down, for some reason it's reading differently, or
What's
it's like
an
slightly
example-
behind.
No, it
What's an
doesn't
example
explain that.
of an object that
Okay.
doesn't have atmosphere around it, or doesn't? What is it that you said doesn't have something around it?
It
Say
sounds
again?
like you've just said a bunch
You said
of
that-
effects and observations, and then said that bendy space-time tells us that that is the cause of these. But I don't see the connection to any of these things.
Yeah, here on April 8th, I gave a full.
Maybe not.
Yeah, there's a text
Zero.
presentation to
Mic's
Neps
open.
about my model. April 8th of this year.
Cool, can you post that in for us?
I just told you where it's posted. Where's it posted? Comprehension test.
You said it was on NAP's server or some
No,
shit like that.
no, this server, April 8th.
So I'm supposed
Do
to
you
scroll
think you can
all the way
find
up.
it?
So I'm supposed to scroll all the way up to April 8th when it's
No, there's a text
July
search.
when it's July 14th.
Do you not understand how
general?
search boxes work, dude?
Yeah, this
Is it
guy,
in
this is how
general?
bad
Have you
they
never
are.
used the internet before?
They never have.
Yeah, most
They
of the
never
time
have.
you can just
They're
copy and paste
incapable.
it. Instead of making someone search for it, you can just copy and paste it real quick. Should be readily
You can
available.
search it real quick if you
So-
really care to. This is called to see if you actually give a shit.
So from Crit,
I do care. I want to see it.
let's see.
Go look at it. It's right there. You can look at Gem server too.
In
So
general,
I did.
Multiple times posted there.
crits.
Why don't you just post it again?
Why not
Listen,
just search it?
I got to be honest.
Because
I
it
really
doesn't
don't
come
care
up
how many
easily.
times he's posted it or how you can find it. Crit, if you want to present your model, we'll take a look at it. Otherwise, you guys go off and figure out where it is and who wants to look at it.
Yeah, perfect. They'll never find it because they never care to.
Oh, I would love.
It's a
to see
simple
it.
test.
I would love to see it. I'm
Go
looking
look for
right
it then.
now. Let's see. Crit FE model. Here we
You can
go.
shut your mic off when you do it. No one wants to hear it.
Here's my model. I can't find yours. Can you post it, please? Here we go. Here's your model. Let's see. Okay.
Shut your mic off. Let other people
Anyway,
talk now.
does anybody else have anything they wanted to bring up?
I like talking about gyroscopes, gyro compasses.
We can talk
Maybe
about
Crit
that.
has
Go ahead.
Maybe Crit has an answer as to why we see a procession of gyro compasses.
You don't.
We don't.
Yeah, we do.
No, you don't.
That's news
Yeah,
to me.
thanks, Bob.
That's news to me.
Yeah, Bob proved it.
No,
It
Bob
varies
proved that there is a
radically.
procession.
No, it's not 15.04.
It would be 14.7.
Gyro compass.
Okay, you do not know your own model. Again,
Or is it
it
a?
must be 15.04.
That's
You
right.
don't even know your
15.04.
own model.
You're right. No, you're right. I got it mixed up. My bad.
No,
You're
you
right. I
don't
can
know
see-
it, dude.
You know,
You
I
don't
said,
even
I,
know
you
what
know,
you're
hold on.
talking
Hey,
about.
you're right. I got it a little mixed up. Hey, you're right. I misspoke. You're right. It'd
Yeah,
be
okay,
15.04.
wait a C line in their left lane.
Yeah, so cool.
This is what they
right?
do. The soon
Hey,
they realize
can
someone
you
doesn't
can
know what
you
they're talking
like
about,
can you just
they
shut
just start
the
making noise.
Yeah, can you like no, you're the one who's like ranting, right? So yeah, so 15 I remember specifically
Function, and
Bob.
then you don't even know what you're talking
Hey, Bob, hey, shush, dude. Bob found 15 degrees per hour
about.
drift.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
He's presented here, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, he presented
he
here.
actually didn't find 15 degrees. That's not
Well, I mean,
what
it
that
actually
output was.
it actually should have been 0. So I don't know why
Well,
it had
not
any kind of
necessarily.
rotation at all.
Not
Or why was
necessarily.
it rotating at all?
Yeah, so
no,
all
because
we
you're
all we-
assigning it to rotation. We're talking about what the
Yeah, so
the output was, right?
yeah, so when he
I
doesn't
think it's
when-
like
when he-
10.9 or something like that.
Yeah, so when you don't calibrate your machines properly and you try and bring them up into fucking wherever, and you don't calibrate your machines for temperature and pressure, things that are very important for things that have that small of mechanisms.
Yeah,
I
you know what
wonder.
you're talking about.
I wonder why it didn't work out too well.
Were you there with him and saw that he didn't calibrate the equipment, or?
Oh yeah, I did. I watched that. I watched
Is
those
that
little
what
clips
your
that they
claim
showed
is?
from
Is
him.
that there was equipment
and they look
miscalibration?
so they looked at the raw data that he had presented, and they found that he was still calibrated for a completely different temperature and pressure when he took it up there into that mountain
Who
range.
did? Who looked at it and found
I
that he
think-
was calibrated for different?
Was it people that were on which server was this?
There-
Debate Flat
but-
Earth and more.
Yeah, there was a bunch of data analytical people got a hold of the data and compiled it.
Yeah, and they
That's-
did
that's
not
nice.
get
Show us.
15.04.
Show us where there was evidence that he miscalibrated the gyro. Not that it matters,
trying
but
to-
go ahead.
Yeah, I'll do it as my homework. I'll try and find those people that were actually showing that.
Well, I
don't
mean,
have it
you
on-
really think some random people showed me that it was miscalibrated, and that's a
No, it was the
worthwhile
raw
thing to
data that
talk
they
about?
had. It was the data that came from Bob himself.
I'm talking about this interpretation that says that he miscalibrated it.
No, I'm saying he didn't calibrate it.
Yeah, he did calibrate.
Well, wouldn't not calibrating it be miscalibrating it as well?
No,
Look at that. They say
Fail to
thanks,
calibrate
Bob.
it.
Look at how much bullshit it takes. They'll tell you thanks, Bob, for proving rotation, then say he got the wrong answer, so he didn't calibrate it right.
So when you
No,
get
which
15
one
degrees,
is it?
I'm saying when you get
Well, they're just
15 degrees
repeating
per
hearsay
hour.
at this point.
No,
Yeah,
I'm-
your cognitive dissonance is your
So-
problem.
So first
You
first
don't
they
know what they're
use that
talking
as a
about.
proof. First they use that as a proof, and then they they debunk it
So why
themselves
did it
by saying he didn't calibrate it. I don't get
why
it.
did
You
it
guys,
all the
why did it
data,
record
all the
any
data,
rotation at all?
all the data compiled, calculated out to within 200ths of the known value, I think.
Yep. Because I
us.
believe he was only posting for like the X axi when he has a whole nother axi he needs to show.
So can I read something really quick?
Yeah.
So this is an excerpt from a conversation back when they were actually doing this thing. So it says, from Bob Nodell, good point, Rick. I guarantee that if we went public with our current findings, the claims would be that we debunked our own model. The claims that we debunked our own model would run rampant because we clearly detected a rotation. And I
That
just
would be the
posted that
claim.
in
Yeah.
the
He
chat.
says if we went public now, the claim would be X.
Because
Right?
you guys don't know what
And
you're
it
talking
says,
about.
because we
He
clearly
predicted that.
He didn't know what he was
hold
talking
on.
about.
It says because we clearly detected rotation.
There's two ways
Of
to
what?
read that, isn't there? Though.
Yeah.
There's two ways to
He
read
explained it. He explained those words. He said baltards, fakers, pretender
course.
clowns will take things out of context all the time. It's what you guys do. You play wordsmith games instead of actually following the science.
Or
You don't
maybe
even know it.
Or perhaps he's just doing damage control. Have you thought about that?
Like I said,
Yeah.
there's two ways to read that sentence, right?
I don't.
And
I don't.
he
I don't
himself
think
has
there's two. I
clarified
think
that
he's
he meant
clearly said we
that
clearly detected rotation.
no. There's two ways to read that though. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
You're
so
reading
you
it
want to read
as
it
if
your way,
he's
so it doesn't
saying
look like
they're going to say this because we clearly detected rotation. That he's
They're his words.
saying that they actually did, or he's saying this is what they're going to say. Do you understand?
No, I think it's you want it to be the latter, of course.
You
No,
want it
you
to be
want
the
it to be.
former.
Oh, do you want me to read the whole thing?
No, it's okay. I really don't
Okay.
care about his tests. We've looked at the data in
Oh,
here,
of
and
course not. Of course not.
it's really not that compelling to me. But
Why should we?
Well, I mean, you guys wanted this data so bad, and then when it finally came out, nobody wants to talk about it anymore.
yeah, we got the data. Jeremy got the data from him.
Exactly.
You guys didn't get the data. We
Yeah.
got the fucking data because we wanted it.
Yeah.
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 So
And
what?
now
They'll never do their own experiment.
Now he detected rotation. Nobody
They'll
wants to
never
talk
There's
do
about
nothing
it
to
at all.
do. We
But
knew
he-
that it was going to show.
They never do nothing.
We knew the
Who
output
analyzed
of the
Never do
tool
it.
was
Look
going
how
to
many
say the
months,
Earth is
years.
rotating.
Maybe
That's
not.
what it was supposedly built to detect, right?
All they want to do is post
yes,
dishonest
it
pieces
was
of shit
built
on their
to detect
paintings and all that
rotation, right?
bullshit.
So you agreed it was built to detect rotation, right?
It was
that's what
built
it detected.
to interpret
Rotation
the
of
output of the
what?
thing as rotation. Yeah.
So that's what it detected, rotation.
It
No.
picks up.
Of
It
what?
picks up phase shift. It picks up. It does pick up a movement. It doesn't mean rotation of the Earth. Bob thinks it's rotation of the ether drift. So he doesn't think it's rotation of the Earth.
Of course
That
not.
machine is
Everyone
not
else,
built to
everyone else
detect
disagrees with
ether.
that.
Well, clearly there's
It's
something
not a-
moving. We all would agree there's something moving. Every human can walk up and go, "Oh, look at that! Those stars are moving." So everybody knows there's
Yep.
something moving.
And that
Yeah,
that
but
something
that
that's moving
apparatus-
impacts the Earth, and it impacts devices on the Earth. We know that.
Yeah, but that apparatus is not designed to detect ether rotation.
It's designed to
Well,
detect motion in
actually, it is
itself.
because it's using light and it's using phase shift and
What
light.
about
and light
mechanical
propagates,
gyroscope?
light induces through the ether. So by definition,
Yeah,
light is inducing
well,
through the very
You're forgetting
medium
about
that's drifting.
You're forgetting about mechanical gyroscopes.
Let's show the
Yeah,
same thing.
It works
Well,
exactly
a
the way it
gravimeter
was designed.
isn't built to detect the movement of the sun and the moon, but it does.
Well,
What?
the sun and the moon would have gravity.
Yes.
That's what you say, that it's gravity. Yeah, I get that. I understand that, but it does detect. You could, in theory, tell the position of the sun and the moon with a gravimeter if you
Yes.
set it up to do
It's
so.
because they have gravity.
Okay, that's
We
fine.
agree.
Let's set the gravity thing aside. Let's say yes, they have gravity. There is some force coming from there that this object detects on the face of the Earth. So why would that
Brandon?
force not impact other things? we know, and that's just one example. I'm giving you one example of how the celestial bodies impact things on the Earth.
Yeah, but so
Yeah, but those are those are.
Go on, Kosho.
I'm saying those are tidal effects. So of course a gravimeter is going to pick up something that is gravitationally affecting it. But it's a gyroscope. It's not.
Yeah.
The tidal effects are going to affect.
A gyroscope is balanced in such a way as to pick up the minute force, right, that is required for it to rotate.
What? Changes
right?
motion.
What?
Well, how big is the force that causes a gyroscope to rotate?
The gyroscope, hold on, the gyro compass maintains its position, its rigidity in space.
And
so
what
there's no
is that force equivalent to?
It is centrifugal force.
Yeah, it's a pseudo force, so meaning it's not. There's not an actual force acting on it. It's just the fact that it's keeping its rigidity in space. The thing that it's on is moving, so it gives it the appearance of it deviating, and that's what gives it the effect of deviation.
How do you tell? How do you tell the difference between something that is maintaining its rigidity in space or moving? You're going to detect the same thing from the instrument, right? You're going to detect a force.
Or if you're using lasers. If you're using lasers to move it, gravity's not going to pull the lasers left or right or whatever. So
yeah. So if you're going to argue that if you're going to argue that that the ether drift is what's causing mechanical gyroscopes to or gyro compasses, I should say, to what is the word, like deviate? What is it? I forget. I'm stuck. Yeah, precess. That's the word. Then you're going to have to figure out why it doesn't hit a certain point of least resistance and just stop spinning there. Why it just seems to constantly rotate if you just keep that motherfucker on. Or precess. Because as far as I know, winds involve a point of least resistance, and that's how, like, when you, unlike the old cartoons and in your old like country houses, you have that arrow that'll point in the direction of the wind, is because it is finding its point of least resistance, and that's why it allows it to point into the wind. I would imagine that if there was an ether drift causing that gyro compass to precess, it would eventually find a point of least resistance.
No, it would keep drifting because the ether is always drifting. 24 is always
yes,
moving
you're right.
24/7.
Yeah, you're right. It's always spinning. Was it counterclockwise or clockwise? I should say.
Well, drifts the same motion the stars are moving. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's drifting the same motion that the stars are moving, then it would eventually find that point of least resistance. It would fucking lay horizontal if you started up at vertical. But it doesn't find
about
any.
this. I don't know much about this ether drift.
Yeah. So
theory about.
Well, it's, if I'm thinking of it like you describe it, as a wind that's somehow able to push physical objects despite it not being a physical thing, then eventually a physical object would find its point of least resistance, like the gyro compass. But for some reason, it constantly spins. It constantly precesses round and around throughout the day, never finding any point of least resistance.
I'm just not sure where you're going with this least resistance argument. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
If the least resistance to the ether wind.
If the ether was having an effect on anything, it would be detectable and discoverable.
It is detectable.
Do you guys notice?
Check out something called a Foucault's pendulum.
Do you guys notice that he already knows what the ether should do?
Yeah, right.
He already had preconceptions of what things should do.
Well, if it's able to move physical objects, then what does that
metal?
make it?
The key is that they're metal. That's what it's moving, because it's a magnetic drift. It has a magnetic electrostatic component to it, in my opinion. I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah, so a grounded out wheel that is non-magnetic. They use non-magnetic metals in this wheel, right?
Diamagnetic.
Yeah, diamagnetic. Oh, it's primarily made up
magnetic.
No, not diamagnetic. Let me look it up. Very, very weak paramagnetic, if I remember properly. Things if you stick up a magnet, it ain't gonna do squat. To prevent any kind of outside, like, because again they use they usually use a like a electric motor to power the thing.
Yeah, there's all kinds of metal in it. If you're talking about a gyro compass, the whole thing is a ball of metal. There's all kinds of, I mean, there's different types of gyro compasses that use different materials, but there's all kinds of metallic materials in it.
So yeah, I agree. Yeah. So if you're going to argue that, hold on. So if you're going to argue that this 55 pound of metal, right, just only 55 pounds, still a good bit of spinning metal. Remember, it also is very strong because now it has rigidity in space because of its centrifugal force. But there's a wind that's strong enough to move this 55-pound wheel along with its rigidity in space due to the centrifugal force. Then you would also have to explain why all these metal buildings aren't also having to account for that same type of force.
There's no such thing as rigidity in space either.
It'll
Yeah, I
blow
would
the building down.
I would beg to differ.
Maybe. I don't know why a metal building would have to account for this kind of force, but I want to go back to the question that I asked Kosho. Maybe somebody can answer it. If the gyro compass or gyroscope is being, its precession is due to an outside force moving it, as opposed to it maintaining rigidity in space, and it just appearing to move, right? A process.
Mm-hmm.
How would we tell the difference? It would
Well, I
be
just
the
explained
same
it to you.
force.
Well, no. So I just explained it to you.
No.
So you would,
You were talking about some ether drift thing that had nothing to do with my question. I'm not proposing any ether drift. I'm asking just a general, basic question.
and I would say it would eventually find its point of least resistance to that
But
force and stay
why
with that.
though? Answer the basic general question that I asked. How would we tell the difference between a force from something being moved by an outside force as opposed to maintaining rigidity in space and its surroundings moving? Such as the gyro compass.
Well, that's
what you say is going on with a,
Well,
a
that's
compass.
No,
that's why I said regular gyroscope, you wouldn't be able to do that. But with a ring laser gyroscope, I mean that you can't use something outside that would.
So you're saying that you wouldn't be able to tell with a regular mechanical gyroscope?
No, I'm saying with a mechanical gyroscope, you could make an argument like, oh, if there's a magnetic field affecting it, or what it is, or whatever. But if you have a ring laser gyroscope, then you're not going to be able to use tidal effects or magnetic effects, something like that.
Not saying anything magnetic. Didn't say tidal. Never said any of that. I said an outside
I'm not saying
force.
I'm using those as examples. I'm using those as examples.
So the answer to my question, the very specific question that I asked though, Kosho, is you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Is that right?
No, I said no. It's not the answer. It's exactly not the answer to the question. With the ring laser gyroscope, there would be no way to affect it from the outside. So if it was
mechanical gyro, how would you know if it's an outside force moving it, or if it is maintaining rigidity in space with everything else moving, such as you say is happening with a mechanical gyro? How would you be able to tell the difference by observing it?
I'm trying to give you that explanation where if it was truly an outside force, eventually the gyro compass would find a point of least resistance and stick with that. It would not
based
keep
on this
precessing.
ether wind thing, or you're imagining the directionality of this force or some shit. I'm talking about just by observing the thing. And it is moving around. How do I tell whether it's an outside force or if it's maintaining rigidity in space with everything else moving? No other assumptions, just by observing the fucking gyro.
You would have to find a way to measure that force, but other than that, I don't think you would be.
Measure what force? Because I'm going to get the same measurement on the gyro compass either way, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
that answers my question. So there really is no way to tell unless you can directly measure the outside force away from the gyro, not the effect on the gyro.
Okay, so now we have to figure out.
I would say that that anything physically affecting, causing that gyro to move, that it would be obvious. You could feel it, or I mean, it would be obvious that there was something there.
Like gravity, you mean? Because we all feel gravity that you claim is acting on us at all times. Yeah.
And the tides, and the gravimeter being impacted by the celestial objects, like
you
all
claim
that.
the opposite, right?
Hold on. So you put the object. So you put the gyroscope on the ground. You just sit it down there and it just starts spinning.
Yes.
On its own, it just starts spinning.
Yeah,
It processes, yeah, but there is some debate with mechanical gyros whether it's processing because of its own spinning momentum of its own actual wheel spinning, you know what I mean, within it, or whether it's actually happening from outside
No, hold
of
on
it.
a second.
That's called
No,
mechanical.
No, listen to what I asked. If I take a sphere, right, that would represent your gyro, and I just sit it on the ground, it's not going to start moving. If I take a cup of liquid, and the liquid's not going to start rotating and be a gyro. So what starts the gyro up to start with? It's not the globe. Exactly. So
what does that have
thank
to
you.
do with the price of tea in China?
That means you started the toy, and it has nothing else to do with anything but you starting it. It'll stop when it's going to fucking stop.
Thank you for your well thought out answer.
Wisdom. Solve the world's
Yes, when you turn it on, it starts spinning the wheel. When you turn it off, then it stops spinning the wheel. I'm glad we agree with that.
Right. What does that have to do with the Earth, idiot?
The fact that the wheel doesn't just spin in the direction you set it, but it also seems to process against its momentum.
Yeah, right. Okay, Narnia.
Yeah, at the same rate as the movement of the stars.
Right.
Yeah.
Coincidentally.
That he can't even sight correctly. See,
We've
this
got
is
this
why
thing
they
that
deny.
processes, and we don't know why.
Wait, are you guys saying the device processes, but there's no shorter flight times?
They are saying that in the globe model, yeah.
Yeah, there's yes, the gyros compass processes, but going back to flight times, I still don't know what you're arguing for.
You keep saying gyro compass. You just mean a gyroscope, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm specifically talking about gyro compasses. Mechanical gyro compass.
A gyro compass just takes a gyroscope, which is processing, and it puts it into a device which basically counteracts the precession to keep it rigid in space.
I'm aware.
So the precession is happening on the gyroscope. All the gyro compass is doing is using various mechanical methods to counteract that precession so that it keeps it rigid.
I know, but the thing about a gyro compass is that it has a beautiful like north, east, south, and west thing that you can use, and you can set it up to constantly point towards true north, and then you can detect precessions quite easily. Odd how it doesn't process like east or west, or like it doesn't like the north, the north.
Itself out from the center of its fucking self. What are you talking about, dude?
Well, again, the gyroscope itself is processing. The gyro compass mechanics of it just counteract that precession so that it stays rigid. And then you can point it wherever you want it and keep that heading.
It's got nothing to do with the Earth. Is our point. That's our main point. It has nothing to do with the Earth.
What I'm trying to say is,
based on the rotation of the Earth.
Yeah, no. So what I'm trying to say is, you have precessions on your X and Y, but what you don't get is a precession on the Z-axis, which is what I'm curious about. Why does whatever force is acting on this object just completely ignore its Z-axis?
More questions.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak for anyone else other than myself, but I think I would call it ether drift or ether wind. I would use drift instead of wind, and that's only moving the same way the stars are moving east to west. It's all moving east to west, so it wouldn't move on a Z-axis. It would just move east to west.
Okay, I
and this
agree.
is also what causes Foucault's pendulum to process. It's also what causes the Elias effect. When there's an eclipse, the pendulum changes direction, which shows directly that there is something that's going on in the electromagnetic field, the sun and the moon. When there's an eclipse, it changes the direction, which shows that it is the ether drift and not any rotation.
I've never seen it. I've never heard of this on an eclipse. It starts pendulum.
Yeah, there's so much you've never heard of.
Right, and you'll see.
You don't know your model.
It's called the Elias effect. Elias effect, yeah. The pendulum will change its direction during a eclipse, solar eclipse.
Yeah, and that has to do with the potential. So watch the moon tonight. Like when you see the moon, like last night, it had like a little bitty sliver lit up, right? Like a bright sliver, and the rest of it was black. You didn't need a globe in the way. You see what I'm saying? So if there's just a piece of the moon lit up, and you didn't need a globe in the way, no globe, for a lunar eclipse. There you go. Boom. Same thing for a fucking solar eclipse. You see the motherfucker black, and only when the light hits it, you see it lit up. See what I'm saying? It's the same thing.
I'm gonna pretend like I listen to you.
The
That's all you do is
whole
pretend.
left side of the moon.
Wow,
is
what a
Wow.
piece of shit, bro.
Yeah,
Well,
he's
I'm trying to watch
garbage,
this
dude.
video.
Why you do that,
Maybe-
man?
Well, I'm trying to watch this video.
It's better than
Elias
Left Lane just spewing garbage nonsense, making animal sounds.
Hold on,
Because
I want to
Left
go
Lane
back
just
to
threw
the
this
Elias
mouth
effect.
monkey,
I want to go to
monkey
the
sounds.
Elias effect.
Monkey sounds.
Dude, this is the best fucking entertainment ever, dude.
The Elias effect. They signal processing related disciplines. Aliasing is an effect that causes different signals to become indistinguishable, blah, blah, blah. It has to do with signals. It doesn't say anything about eclipses.
It's a different word. ALLAIS is the one with pendulums. You're talking about what with just one L. You're talking about a completely different word.
Hey, Gio, have you seen anything on that outside of what is listed in Wikipedia? Because I've read that a couple times, and it's like, okay, so people have tried to, redo what they did, and it's inconclusive. It makes it sound like it's very inconclusive. But there's got to be more that's been done than just what's shown in that Wikipedia.
I agree. I think it's something that I would like to see it done in a modern day.
Hey.
Even with more. What I'm saying is, I'm not sure anyone in the modern day has done like a really, really rigorous, replication of it.
In support of Geo, you need to look at that ALLIAS effect. There's something to that.
Yeah, because I'm looking up like the pendulum, and I'm not really finding anything about like eclipses.
Yeah, you can't find anything.
Yeah, ALLAIS effect. It is in Wikipedia.
Yeah, I just posted it. Yeah, there's some information on it there. Not to say that that's like complete information, but meaning not to say that's all just true, but
And it does mention pendulums in just the summary there.
Yeah.
It is alleged anomalous behavior by one man. See if it's ever been repeated.
what I was just saying, Howard, is just that the word aliasing, alias, that's different. That has to do with signal processing and so on. That's just different than alias. I don't know how they're, alias and alias, I think is probably the two correct ways to pronounce those.
Yeah.
Let me read something. What does this say? The observed effects are only seen when the pendulum is moving. They are not connected with the intensity of weight, but with the variation of weight in the space swept by the pendulum. What the hell does that mean?
I'm seeing inconsistent or ambiguous results over more than 5 decades of observation. So it doesn't seem to be too repeatable.
I think what they're saying is that the effect it doesn't change quote unquote gravity. Like it doesn't change the weight of the pendulum, but it's changing something about the space that it's sweeping within and the direction it's sweeping within is what they're.
Yeah, so again, the results are inconsistent and ambiguous results. And so far, nobody else has ever been able to completely recreate what he did.
Yeah, but it's only been like 2, 3. Yeah, I guess there's been a few. 4, 5,
60
6.
years.
Yeah.
Who knows what else has been scrubbed in terms of the history of this? I mean, obviously they came in strong after World War II, World War I, World War II, with the globe Earth and the Foucault's pendulum, and pushing it hard. So I'm not sure in modern day that it's been done. That it's been recreated in a really, really consistent way. I mean, this does talk about someone doing it in 1960s, but I would like to see it done, in a more fully replicated way.
Because I thought that earlier you said that during eclipses they start swinging in opposite directions. So I was like, hold up.
It changes it. Yeah, that's what it does. Yeah, that's what this effect.
No, so even according to what's his name, Alice, I forget. It just changed the speed at which it was processing in the same direction. But he was the only person that's ever been able to show that, and its results have not been repeated.
Listen to this though.
Well, that's
So yeah, but listen to this. However, after the eclipse, this is when they worked with NASA and the Marshall Space Flight Center, and this guy Elias participated. It sounds like says, however, after the eclipse, Elias criticized the experiments in his final NASA report, writing the period of observation was much too short to detect anomalies properly. Moreover, the lead supervisor left NASA shortly thereafter with the gathered data, and the NASA study has never been published. I don't know. That's pretty interesting.
I think it's been heavily suppressed. Yeah.
But going back to that, Geo, back to the ether with the gyro compass. If you're going to argue the ether wind, I would say, or the ether drift, I would argue that even with the drift, you would have a point of least resistance, of which your gyro compass would sit on and stop processing.
They try to do it
I
in the cold
see what
temperature,
you're saying. I
temperature.
see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Once it lined up with
Yes, once
with
it lines up with the direction of the wind, kind of like on the not those, I guess, kind of a weather vane. You know, like on all your old cartoons, there's like that metal rooster with that arrow that will point in the direction of the wind, because it's just is
So is
finding
there a
its point of least resistance.
Freezing and hot, like the difference, like is it going to do different? If it's like negative 200 or positive 200 degrees.
Well, I think now I actually know what you mean, what you're saying that, but that would assume that it works like wind does, meaning that would assume that it's just sort of like a wind. I know what you mean, like a weather vane will kind of, if the wind's coming, let's say in whatever direction, the weather vane will end up sort of staying in that direction because the wind, it's not changing, the wind isn't changing direction.
Yeah.
But I think the ether drift is much more, I don't think it's like a physical wind. I think it has to do with the magnetic field of the earth, the actual magnetic, the electrostatic and electromagnetic flux of the entire system in which we live in, and how that's and is connected to the sun, moon, and star movement as well. So I'm just saying, I don't think it's like a physical wind. I think it has to do with the actual features of the magnetic system, the actual magnetic field of the ether, the atmosphere, the Earth system that we live within.
Then what would be a good experiment to try then is use a wheel made out of a paramagnetic metal, and then one made out of a diamagnetic metal, and see if they process in opposite directions. If it is truly like the electromagnetic flux.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is what's exciting about this whole field, not only just flat Earth, but just in general, this discussion. But I think it harkens back to really, in my opinion, what was happening in the 1800s, basically before World War I. There was a lot of research happening. Who even knows what people knew before then? Probably a lot more than we do now. But so, yeah, I mean, this is the cutting edge in terms of rediscovering this stuff and doing more experiments and tests in the future. Certainly, Neil deGrasse Tyson isn't gonna be a breakthrough for us.
How are you able to get rid of electricity or magnetism when water falls under that and plastic and I mean everything? How do you eliminate that? Like,
say again?
And really, how do you eliminate electrical interference?
Okay.
But hold on. Also, isn't on like wouldn't a submarine act as like a big old Faraday cage?
Yeah.
So
I think Howard was trying to get in. I don't know, Howard, if you were trying to say something. Your mic's a little low.
No.
Yeah, I was just saying, why would you say that we knew more then than we know now?
Because I think there's been various levels of resets before these globe people took over and started pushing their pseudoscience and their fake globe. I think that they're hiding and covering up. They're covering up the truth of what humanity really knew before this time, before this current.
How we breathe and how fish breathe and how plants breathe and how all that shit. Yeah.
Yes,
how
we know.
Our
we know that
compared to a cricket or a mosquito or a tree.
Yes, we know that you don't think oxygen exists, and I'm okay.
Well, we know that you think tree leaves have brains in them and stuff like that, and plants don't think, and insects don't have a brain. And
leaves have stoma.
What's the thought process? Does an insect have to have a brain like ours? Let me know real quick. What's intelligence and what's the capability of storing that?
Well, I think that's as good as any point to cut it off for the night. Hope you guys enjoyed. Some good discussion in there about a couple topics. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks again to those of you who sent super chats. Earth is Life, shout out. Science of Science. And I think Silent Zero was in there too somewhere. I think there's one I missed, so I do apologize if I missed your super chat. There was one and I have no record of it. But anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Shout out to the panel, even though they can't hear me right now. Appreciate you guys coming in and doing the show. And we will see you tomorrow night. Have a good one.
Understand